My people, guess what day it is? It is a Monday. All right, sorry. I am actually, I got a explanation for this. I'm currently filming our behind the scenes video for this month. So all the supporters, I think $5 support and up get to see our behind the scenes videos of what's going on. And this week it's all about our entire work week. So I'm just going through the video process, the streaming process, the working with editors process, and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to get a nice video going live. But now it's all about you all. You're the stars of the show. How's it going, guys? Welcome. Men and women of the hours, multiple hours. Good to see you, Moondog. I saw you in here first, especially on YouTube. Welcome, Cantoria. Saw you as well on Twitch. Came in and immediately declared a proud death to all Vanduul. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I don't know about genocide, but they are kind of mean. So, you know, no comment. We'll leave it at that. Can't get canceled. I don't want the Vanduul coming after me. Another Mike. How you doing? Gale 4 Skipster. Good to see you. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed that event over the weekend. Zortoza 07's my friend. Grifter. Hello, hello. Kalisinski. Thanks for joining us. Hello, Dan Little. DV, how you doing? From Sausalito, which I like to pronounce as Sausalito. I don't know why. Pro tip, never add your boss on SC Grifter. I can concur. That's probably not a great idea. Unless maybe you work there? I don't know. Punji with the Toes Gang, welcome. How you doing? As well with the hydration reminders, of course. Can never get too much water. In fact, today is a good day for the hydration. Keep on me today for it, guys, because it is humid. Humid. It's like 80+% humidity, 80+ degrees outside. And in here with the two computers and everything, there's no real breeze today. It just, oh God, it's miserable. So I might actually not do the full stream because I might just get too hot and bothered. And I'm also looking for like a calm day today. So we're gonna watch these Star Citizen lives. We're gonna catch up on features coming to ships, what the progress is. I've got several episodes up here with additional context that we can get once we do get these answers, because you know how we got to do it. Space Tomato style. Bring in the extra info. That's what we're all about around these parts. So we're gonna have a lot to talk about today, but I want to keep it freaking calm. Okay, it's been a long weekend. It's hot in here. I'm trying to sit back and have some tomato time. All right. So let's not lose our bajujus over anything that they're talking about. We'll take it in stride. We'll voice our opinions. You know, I think we're gonna have plenty of negative opinions today, but I just don't want to see any arguments in chat or anything like that. Just let it go. Anthropophagic, Prophagic, I'm gonna go with. Thank you so much for that tier 1 sub, 3 months. I appreciate it. And Wobbly Llama, thank you as well for the Prime sub, Amazon Prime support. Thank you. Yes, Soul Scream, that's what I'm talking about. Positive vibes. Tomato Tuesdays. Maybe we should do something on Tuesdays, because that just works too well, right? Sorry about the water noise. The only good Vanduul is a dead Vanduul. I'm doing my part. How's it going, Max? Good to see you. Noah's the first. Welcome. I hope you're doing well as well. I'm having an okay day. We got a lot of work done today. Nice to see the scream. Nice to have you here with us in the stream, not the scream, the stream. We got a little raffle started over on Twitch, by the way. So make sure to get those points if you're on Twitch, because we got that game giveaway finishing up this week, and you can get some points for that. You do look hot. Thank you very much. It's cool over there, though. Thankfully, that's good to hear. I love a cool day. Wouldn't want me to turn into tomato soup. No. Just gazpacho. A cool liquidy tomato, you know? Hakuna Matata today. The question is Tomato Tuesday over Taco Tuesday. Nothing beats Taco Tuesday. Woo! The only thing that comes close to Taco Tuesday is Tequila Tuesday, and those two things rarely they go hand in hand, right? It's like it's a given. Taco Tuesday comes with tequila. Tequila Tuesday, you gotta have tacos. That just reminds me of my university happy hour. We had a bar near our school called Cinco, and they would do $1 tacos. It was either $1 or $2 tacos, $4 beers. And we'd go nuts. I'd get like 8 tacos It would be different every week, but sometimes you'd get enough tacos that the waiter would be like, "Are you sure?" You're like, "You're also bringing beer, right?" "Yeah, I'm sure." Yeah, those were great. I miss tacos. Being over here in Turkey, tacos aren't as big a thing. I love the food here, I really do. But there are some staples that I miss from back home that I'll be looking forward to getting. Man, we could just make them ourselves over here, I guess. Was there some controversy you missed somewhere? It always goes over your head. No controversy. Just my personal feelings for this stream. I'm down to squabble a little bit, but I'm just not in the mood today, you know? A beautifully dangerous combo, you're telling me. Makes life much more beautiful. Good morning, Ken. As a new citizen, is this update giving details on how I can get my Corsair in October or November? The best way to be able to do that would be to go to CIG Studios and buy out the company and then make them release the Corsair. Other than that, I can't confirm or deny whether it will be coming in 318. I really do hope so. And I feel like from what we've seen on the monthly reports and ISC, it could be coming with 318, but that really depends on when 318 is coming. By November, I think it's definitely possible. We will at the very least touch briefly on what the current scheduling is looking like for that ship, but I don't think they really talk about it in this video. Any new foods you've never had before that you fell in love with over here in Turkey? Oh, buddy. I got baklava tattooed on my arm. I've never really been a big fan of the idea of nuts in a dessert. And I remember like 5-6 years ago, my family had baklava and I was sitting at the table with them and I was like, that sounds gross, I don't want it. And then I moved to Turkey and everything changed. But yeah, Adana kebab, durum kebab, doner, künefe. There's so many different Turkey. Like there's so much food. It's crazy to move from in like such a drastic change in culture from America to Turkey because so many things are different. It's like the brands, the names of things, the way that people do things, everything is so much different that you get to kind of start over, find a new palate, and luckily the Turkish cuisine matches my palate very well. But enough about me. Let's talk about the ships. So we've got Star Citizen Live last week, all vehicles Q&A. They brought in a couple of the vehicle team. Of course, our favorite John Crew is there, and they went over a few questions about vehicles. Ships, ground vehicles, features, when, how, why, what are you doing? So we're gonna listen to this. I'll probably jump around a little bit, but as we come up to questions and they give us answers that most likely either you don't give much info or kind of repeat the same info, I'm actually going to keep an eye out for repeat questions so we can see what they might have been saying about this stuff last year or the year before or even earlier this year. And you know, that's always the goal, right? Add some context. Lily Bunn, how you doing? Good to see you here. Good morning. First college class in an hour. Wish you luck and have a great stream. Can't wait to watch it later. Good luck at the class. I don't know which one it is, but I remember morning classes not being my favorites. Although one thing I did like about freshman year was I got to start my first semester at like 11 a.m. Felt like I was cheating. It was great. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I appreciate the support, especially from somebody in college. That means a lot. I hope you have a good day at school, and I'll see you in the stream later. You bought the game the other day, Wulama. Looking forward to jumping in when you get better Wi-Fi next week. Best of luck to you, my friend. I hope you've got an SSD and a couple of RAMs, or maybe just a few stickers on the case that can replace RAM if you do enough stickers. Like, what is it? Like 20 stickers is like 1 gigabyte of RAM or something like that. Dunum is great too if you don't want to be the carbohydrate bomb of a donut. We actually just had some for lunch. That's why I mentioned it. You miss your Turkish tea. That's another one. I just said that completely wrong. I said you miss your Turkish tea. You miss your Turkish tea. I also never liked tea until I came here. So that's another one that really gets me. Abram, first class coming up as well. You guys think that they'd throw up the stream on the board in the class? Maybe we could hijack the class a little bit. Ram Power Wagon. All right, let's turn this music a little bit down so that y'all aren't getting the music overlapping the voices. I'm gonna start the voices here. Let me know how it sounds compared to my voice in the music.
Every day and
can you hear me over the voices? Can you hear them over the music?
Nifty paints that our good friend Ben Curtis and his team.
Or is the music a bit loud?
And
it's been pretty good so far. Like every day, the art team have been just.
I think that should be a little bit better for the music.
It and looking at it.
Let me know, and then we'll get started. Less music, just a tad. Okay, I turned it down a little bit. Is it better? You're curious about the Turkish coffee, but man, I don't know if I'd be able to handle how thick it is. See, that's where you're not gonna get me. I've always been hot chocolate first. Honestly, I'm just warming up to tea. I can't speak towards the coffee other than I've taken a sip and it put me on the floor. That stuff is crazy. It's like they went outside and heated up relatively good tasting mud and put it in a cup and said, drink this. Drink this, it will make your life pure. And I know people love it, but I just can't do coffee. But if you like that strong stuff, go for it. They are a bit muted compared to me, okay? Turn their voices up a little bit as well. Cool, we're good. All right. Folks, I'm excited for this because I love when we have some context to back this all up, go back and look in the past. So let's listen to what the first questions have for us.
Good stuff so far.
Converted to the paint system, you can force Ben Curtis and his team.
Jumping forward past the intro.
Not to vote for.
So
as long as everyone votes for the mule, we're all good.
Yeah, Mule, Scorpius were good. PTV.
Yeah, the mule seems to be the
Hey, talk about the ship showdown.
Saw interest in the PTV just spike up after that.
Will you get kicked out if you ask for cream?
Honestly, it's as long as
that you might want to bring it in like a flask in your back pocket and just kind of sneak it in there and drop some cream in there.
Everybody's having fun and everybody's celebrating our. We've got to be nearing 200 ships.
Go against the internet.
All questions with the word question in.
All right, here we go.
We also, as we usually do, put up a thread on Spectrum where we collect questions at the bat. Full disclosure. Every time we do one of these shows, the most and we're gonna save them all and
the
do them all at the
disclosures.
end.
I haven't actually listened to this yet. I did turn it on over the weekend, and then I fell asleep about 10 minutes in. So I don't know much about what they're saying, but I do imagine because it's a vehicles Q&A. Generally, vehicles Q&As have a lot of answers that start with yes or no, and then it hasn't been done because it's in the backlog. Or, sorry, that was really loud. Or, yes, we would like to do that, but a lot of the questions end up coming down to dependencies, coming down to the backlog priorities and that kind of stuff, which is unfortunately a lot of the answers that have to do with Star Citizen. And oftentimes that comes off as pretty frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. That like it's annoying to me, and that's why I don't care much about ships. Because when you focus more on features, those things I think tend to have better answers. I don't know. I feel like the ship's team is very limited in what they can talk about, it seems, because they depend so much on other stuff to make sure the ships are working correctly. It's the whole topic, to be honest, and maybe one for the podcast. But I'm expecting a lot of, oh, it's in the backlog or the priorities aren't there. And that's why I have these other ones up so that we can go back and look at those things and see what were they saying about that before. So let's get started. Pretty interesting. That's good.
Those were jokes.
What's up, Cryo?
You can dump those into the chat and whatever. We're just going to save them. We're going to do a whole big update on everything we can think of that's currently in the pipeline toward the end. So with that, let's jump into the questions from the thread, and let's start with an oldie but a goodie here.
Arturito, how you doing?
Landing gear ever become decoupled from wings? John.
Yes.
Landing gear, states of
it's
ships.
only like that at the moment, just because of a pure tech limitation that is quite low down the list of things to solve.
The backlog.
Basically, they're all just skinned meshes and attached to the vehicle in one go, rather than three separate. However many landing gear you have, in the case of the Caterpillar, they all just get essentially compounded into one object and put on the ship, so they don't go with the bit that comes off with it. And we do want to fix that because it does look terrible
Yeah, that's
when you lose a wing, or in the
Oh,
Eclipse's case,
gosh, yeah.
where you see behind the scenes of all the other things that we make landing gear.
This is a good question because this goes in line with VTOL engines. This goes in line with ship transformations. For those of you who don't know, the Carrack actually has they still haven't implemented it. Surprise. The Carrack actually has this heat shield that comes out over the glass that they did say they were still going to implement. You can see like the glass canopy is normal, and then this heat shield comes out over the windows to protect it. And they said they were still going to do that. I don't know if it's still the case, but that's probably another one of those things that has to do with this answer. Ship states and like how they change. And I don't think I saw anything about that in these previous questions. Spawning, light colors, landing cameras. That's a big topic. General ship balancing, scanning. No. Okay. So honestly, they've said it before. This stuff is always just on the backlog. It's low priority. We got the ability to change our thrusters a year or two ago, so hopefully this would come sometime soon as well. They didn't answer the most question: when is Mako gameplay? It's the GOAT, the Mako. My specs can be found by typing in !kit on the stream. Drazen, our mod is here. How you doing? Trying to catch up on the new podcast episode right now. Brah. It's a good one. It's a good fun one. Let's continue.
To get around things working. So yes, do you want to do it? There are some bits and pieces in the pipeline that may help us with this in the near term, but it's not like, hey, here's a block of time on the schedule. We're going to fix landing gear. It's going to be on this date. It's we're doing other things in the area. It might fix it. It might not fix it.
Is the landing gear?
There's
on the
so many
Reliance
tasks
still
like that. Those are the tasks that we get when they're not on the roadmap, and they like just sneak something into a patch, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's what those are. And I'm hoping that the more and more we get out of this rut of engine work, server meshing stuff, PES stuff, Gen 12 stuff, and engineers start to get relieved a little bit to focus on more things, we start to see some of these small task backlog handled a little bit better, because we've seen it more this year. More this year than last year, more last year than the year before. Hopefully they continue to improve with that.
tied to its transformation? I know for a while it was.
Don't think
The window
so
cover
now.
from Prometheus, yeah.
I know we did a bunch of work a while back to try and split it up, and very aware of the bug where people log back in and the ship's in the wrong state, and then you can't get to the cockpit, and we're looking at solutions for that.
I'm using
which
both
is
my
likely
PCs
gonna
right
be
now.
like a little button just on the cabin side of the cockpit, so you can press the button and then rotate it back.
Nice.
What do we need for big
That
ships to
was-
be in game?
Just with that one specifically, I always thought it would be cool.
What is that,
the
time?
Transforming nature, different flight modes. Sometimes you want to fly vertical, but sometimes you want to fly horizontal. And it would have been cool. It'd be cool for like canyon runs and stuff to be able to switch. That's just me. Let's see. What other old goodies? Let's dig back. The Caterpillar cargo doors and lifts. Long-time backers of the project know the Caterpillar's big cargo doors are also supposed to function as lifts. Anything you can tell us about that?
Didn't they put out a picture with that recently?
This was actually something Tech Art were looking at the other day, seeing whether we can get somewhere with it. I could speak for hours about doors in video games.
Doors in our game.
Doors in Star Citizen. Anyone that's ever worked on video games knows how problematic doors are. They seem like they're a really simple thing, but
John, I worked on a video game, and I don't know about doors. Granted, my video game was 2D and took about 6 hours to make.
go down a huge rabbit hole of questions and answers. And in Star Citizen, we essentially have three ways of doing doors or lifts or elevators, however you want to call them. We have a simple door, which is just basically an item that rotates between two states. You see it on all of our internal doors, simple back ramps. And as long as it goes between open and closed, that's good. We can't use that for the Caterpillar because it naturally has it has three states. It has open to horizontal, and then down to the ground. We have the elevator system, which is used on a lot of our ships for moving between floors and transitioning to the outside of a ship.
There's a picture of this.
That has some issues. If you've ever been on a 600i elevator in Quantum and
That was a
found
stupid
yourself
Google search.
with the elevator in the middle of space,
All right,
that's
here
one
we
of the
go.
issues with that. And then we have the new transit system, which is primarily
All
built
right,
for
so
environments.
this is what he's talking about. For any of you who don't know how the Caterpillar works, so this is the Caterpillar. As a ship, normally the entire side of it. What is that crackling noise? I don't like that noise. Stop it. Get out of my ear. Whatever. So the whole side of this ship is usually red, kind of like it is back here. And you can see one of these elevators here is in the upwards position, or almost in the upwards position. The way it works is these elevator floors actually are the wall of the ship. So what he's saying is that, yes, you can just flip it out so it's like a door, which is the way it is right now. Let's see if we can find a landed one that's just got the doors open. I mean, this is what it looks like when it's closed, right? You can see that these doors are all closed here. But when it's down on the ground and open, the doors are off the ground. And that's because they also act as elevators and go down to the ground. So what he's saying is that as a door, yes, it would work. As an elevator, yes, it would work. But as both, it sounds like it causes some problems. I'm not actually, you know what? As an elevator, maybe it wouldn't work, right? Because their elevators are are quite broken right now. But that's what he's talking about.
And you see that in a lot of ships, but there's an issue with that at the moment, a limitation that we're resolving soon, where it can't go between zones. So it can't be a lift inside a ship that then goes outside the ship. So if you look at the Carrack's lift, for example, that only ever goes internally. That's a transit lift. But transit and the legacy elevator system can't do complex synchronized animations with them, which is what the Caterpillar needs. So the Caterpillar needs like the original door system, but expanded to have multi-state doors with complex linked animations, because it can't use it.
Y'all shouldn't have made the ship like that.
It's a fun problem to solve.
That is another example of scope creep, right? It's not scope creep, but because of the way it was designed, it causes them to have to do more to make it work. That really sucks, honestly. Like, I get that you don't want to be building a game where you're designing things you don't know how they're going to work, but when you're trying to do something new and interesting, I imagine that happens a lot with R&D stuff. And it sucks to be somebody who then has to figure out how to make that work if you weren't the person who made it, or even if you were the person who made it and you're just like 10 years later, you're much smarter. You don't need 32 gigs to stream this. No. Arturo, you don't have to repeat your questions. I'm going to see them. Just give me a minute to get through chat. Doors and elevators. Doors and corners, my friend. Yeah, the picture is great, but they shouldn't have put it out just like, this doesn't work. That's not how it works. Guess that's true for a lot of concept art. C. McD, thanks for becoming a supporter on YouTube. I appreciate you. Use a homie. S12 elevators, highest DPS. They will indeed murder you the first chance they get. Wonder if there's a problem of the original teams? Could be. Design team got overly ambitious and bit off way more than they could chew at the time. In Star Citizen? No f***ing way.
What looks like a relatively simple thing. So we could change the animation to just go all the way down to the ground for all the doors.
No problem, Art.
And that will fix one set of issues. And then people will ask, like, why do I have to open the doors all the way every time? And you would likely run into the issues where, because they will open all the way, the Caterpillar is such a long nose, you're going to have a nicely flat surface along all those areas for those doors to not lift the entire ship up.
And sum up quickly, is it's a nightmare. Yes, we want to do it because it's cool, but we hit this problem with a lot of our ships when we're in early stages in white boxing them, and we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this bit here, and then normally it's someone that's slightly understands the complexity of the issues comes in from design, like, yeah, it's not quite work.
Yeah,
this bit.
Exactly.
Cool. So yeah.
There's
Not
been
soon.
a bunch of really good articles on various video game websites about the complexity of doors in video games, and especially if you have no insight into like game development from the outside, it's like, hey, it's a door, it opens, it closes, simple, right? But behind the scenes, they are simultaneously one of the most complex things in games and two the most abused things in games to get things done. Anything that moves in a game is probably a door.
And then number two is
in any video game.
Number two is elevators. It's like the number one problem is doors. The number two problem is elevators. And this thing with the caterpillar is a combination of both.
Yeah.
But we still want to deliver that.
Doors and corners.
It's a platform that then has these pneumatic pistons that need to do complex.
So before
going back to the mule, Markin had a great shot with the mule loading up the caterpillar. It looked amazing.
Thank you, Trip Bear.
Come on.
So before before that answer sends people doom and gloom to Spectrum.
That's how it goes for most games. Build tech assets. Later down the road, your process has progressed and old designs are now a problem. Yeah, and the problem with so many things going into the game is that continuously happens. The whole tech debt thing. And I think if we go to the progress tracker, I'm not sure if they have... I don't know if the item is specifically called tech debt. But they definitely do go back and fix a lot of Cadman. It happens a lot for this game because they're building. There's so many different things that they have to go back and let's see. Yeah, bug fixing and tech debt, just always ongoing, and always a bunch of teams working on it. But people will say, oh, they need to stop and work on bugs. They're working on bugs. It's just this is what it takes to keep it running playable while they're also trying to add the stuff, but that's probably in there somewhere at some point.
You hopeful? I mean, I'm not saying tomorrow, but you feel like we'll get it?
Yeah, we'll absolutely get it.
Oh yeah, sometime at some point. Yeah.
Like I say, I think a sensible first step will just change the animation to be the full one, and see how bad that turns out. It may not be as bad as we think it's going to be. But we'll see.
Next question. If you could go back and throttle the person that invented a combination door elevator for the caterpillar, would you?
No, but I'll do them in a different way.
All right.
See, that's...
Let's see.
But that's good to know, right? Like, that's it right there. Hey, we did this, and yeah, it's cool, but I probably would have done this differently. Because, like... Back then, there's no way. Nobody knew. And this is part of the whole argument of it got too out of hand with all the expansion and all the money coming in. Nobody knew how freaking big and complex the game was going to be back in 2014 when the Caterpillar was made. So yeah, I can imagine it's a bummer to have to consider that so strongly because one ship makes a strong use of it.
Starting today's show, our all vehicles Q&A with some of our old chestnuts, the ones that have been following us along through the Star Citizens development for a while now. Here's another old chestnut here. Landing assistance UI. Will there be a landing assistance UI without an autopilot? Example, a UI that tells or shows distance from the center of a hangar or distance from the walls.
I actually want to look something up. Hold up. Because he did say that there was a lot of, let's see, in video games. Is it actually a problem? Otis elevators in Roblox. Okay. So, not enough that there's like a big time video. Elevators, doors in video game. Problems. Yay or nay? Why video game? Oh, Vox. Okay, that's a pretty big channel to cover something like that. Why doors? Okay, yeah. Sounds like doors suck. At least judging by the amount of people who are talking about them. But I don't know. That is interesting. We'll continue.
A bottom-facing camera, something.
Yeah, if you've been playing Star Citizen a long time, you'll remember the old landing UI, which displayed a little version of your ship, and then relative it to
Only a
the
few
landing pad.
videos is still a pretty big deal. Like, Vox is not a video game company, right? Granted, Inside Gaming is, but like, it's definitely a thing enough that it's a discussion. Might not be the biggest discussion there is, but like, if I typed in bananas, bananas in video games problems, the banana problem, there we go. But yeah, I mean, I think, I believe it. I would believe that doors would be an issue just because they have to connect rooms, and rooms are different and stuff like
Absolutely
that.
want to have,
I'm not a doctor.
maybe not that exactly come back.
Shakes doors at
but
fist.
Something approximate to that to give you that spatial context without you having to go into external camera view.
Here's a question more about general ship theory. As we build out our library of what, like I said, has to be approaching somewhere.
Wait, I missed that. Will there be?
Here's another old chestnut here.
Yeah, this is a popular one.
UI. Will there be a landing assistance UI without an autopilot? Example, a UI that tells or shows distance from the center of a hangar or distance from the walls. A bottom-facing camera, something.
Yeah, if you've been playing Star Citizen a long time, you'll remember the old landing UI, which displayed a little version of your ship, and then relative it to the landing pad. We absolutely want to have, maybe not that exactly come back, but something approximate to that to give you that spatial context without you having to go into external camera view.
Okay. This is something that I feel like CIG needs to put on the front of their website. This is one of those questions because I was able to just easily find it in 3 of these videos. Was it 3 or 2? 2 of these videos. Let's hear what they had to say about this back in February of 2020.
Do you have thoughts on parking cameras? I mean, like I said, we have them in cars now. You go in reverse and a camera comes on. You see it on your screen. Is that something you'd like to pursue? Is there a reason you'd be against it?
No. So as far as the development of the new cameras goes, we put the new cameras in for first and third person, and these are kind of like the first iterations of these new cameras for us. But also now we're looking at the future and we're going, actually what features do we want to include now in the camera, going forward for future versions of it, and these can include kind of parking cameras where the camera moves, based on the landing pad or, the way you're landing, but also just general features, even for ground vehicles where, it's the way the camera moves when you're driving up hills. It doesn't work the same way it does for ships. So we've got to develop different systems on top of the current camera to kind of support different vehicles, and that can include different play styles and in terms of parking ships and parking ground vehicles, and how it works with collisions, which is quite a complex problem to solve, which is one of the kind of key things we did last year and the start of this year, was looking how we can make the camera work within all the complex kind of landing zones we have, where if you're moving the camera somewhere, it can actually collide with various objects and various other ships, and it's how the camera deals with that collision so it still feels right, so it's not snapping or it isn't clipping objects. So we've got a lot of features planned for the camera going forward. We haven't,
I don't. It's interesting that he says that, because from as far as I know, they've always wanted to go back to that original Star Citizen landing UI from 2.6. Let's see if we can pull up a quick picture of that so you guys can see what it used to look like. Is here. So this is what we used to have when we were landing. Hey, I forgot I can use Imgur here. Used to be blocked in this country. The only thing this would work for, though, was on these actual landing pads. So it was cool, but it would only work in specific places. And now that we have planets, caves, rivers, mountains, like all this stuff to land on, they need to build a new system for it from the ground up. And I always, like John said in this most recent video, expected it to go back towards a direction like this. So it's interesting he's talking so much about cameras in this one. But let's hear what they had to say a year later in March of 2021.
Any hope for landing cameras?
Yeah, we talk about that all the time.
Yeah, we do.
Or even at least shipped with glass floors.
What's almost more important is docking cameras. Yeah, I know the landing camera is important, but the docking cameras, like, even more important, only because it's just the accuracy that you need. The landing's a little rough, but yep.
And finally, I missed a little drone.
Okay, that was really not much that they said there, and I thought there was one more mention in this, because this question comes up every single time anybody is talking about video or vehicles. I actually don't see it on here though. The only thing, useful lights, maybe they mention it here.
When we are getting better lights for the exterior of our ships. The Mole has forward-facing lights, which allow the pilot to see in front of the ship, but when you try to land on the dark side of a moon or planet, you cannot see below your ship, so you find yourself landing on large rocks or uneven terrain. Also, the players in the mining turrets are unable to mine rocks in the dark because mining turrets do not have lights on them, making it very hard to see the rocks below the ship.
Yep, so I'll start with the turret one first. There was a problem with turrets that didn't allow us to have lights on it back when the Mole came out, and that's something we are actively fixing on the Reclaimer at the moment for supporting salvage, because it has a very similar problem. The pilot of the Reclaimer has the humongous floodlights for illuminating what's in front, but the little salvage turrets next to it aren't necessarily always going to be looking that way, so we've got some lights on those, and we're just working out the quirks with the system of, at the moment, they're all connecting to the same light controller, so the pilot can turn them all on and off, which is less than ideal for those in the turrets when the pilot decides he wants to turn his lights off and their lights turn off. But it's the goal to have them on, and then when that's working, we can go back to the Mole. For the whole lights are too dim / too bright, that is a classic video game developer art design standoff that we've had for years, and probably every game studio has. Designers like, I want a light that can see 5 kilometers ahead of me, which means it has to be a certain brightness. Art go, that's too bright. It just blows out all the art. Everything is just bright white.
Okay, so this is mainly about lights then, not the UI. So let's go ahead and move on to the next question. I think it was about...
We have ships of different sizes for the same profession. Is the smaller one just a stepping stone, or will there be something that only small ships can do or fit in? Example, a high value area that only prospectors can access, that maybe what's Orion can't. What's our thoughts here? Explain that progression, I guess.
There isn't one answer, because it's not the same answer across all the different careers. Yes, some of them are like stepping stones, but they're not like the sole way of going up that career. For other ones, we see like it's not going to be like an entirely ship-based career. Like you may have a ship at one point, but then it may transition to a location based version of that. If you think refineries now, refinery is all done at stations, and in the future we'll have the Expansion game, and people can do refinery now on the station. So is that the starter, or is the Expanse the starter? It's sort of what you make.
Crap, I got a roadmap update meeting.
But obviously,
JK. It wasn't my
station-based
computer.
ones, you don't have as much flexibility as you will with the Expanse, and I'm sure in the future we'll have larger refinery ships. But also, it's there to sort of gate the progression in some way. Like a lot of people, if you think of like most RTSs, you have like your tech tree of maybe not vehicles,
Ooh.
but the buildings you can.
Okay, they're talking about progression in terms of ships. That is
build, or the troops you can make, and it's sort of similar to that in that we don't want you to go straight in at the top. Ideally, we want you to build your way through it. But yeah, I'm just waffling now, but completely lost my train of thought because there was a car going outside banging down the road.
No, I think I get what you're saying. There is a progression.
It's like that dog from that one show or movie. He just hears a car outside. It's like, car? Sorry, what was I saying?
There is a progression intended in many instances, but at the same time, there are situations that we envision in this game that we're building where you might want 2 smaller things as opposed to 2 larger things. It's like that. So like anything else in game development, there's really no simple black and white answer to the question. It is a situationally based question. There will be some professions and some things where, yeah, it'll be a very clear start here, then go here, then go here, then go here. And then as mission feature team develops things and whatever stuff, there will be situations designed to encourage use of smaller, lesser vehicles as opposed to big giant stuff like that. So
yeah, that's kind of crucial. That's the whole point. They can't tie progression to ship size. There has to be things that smaller ships are going to be better at, or else they have to give us reasons to want to hang on to smaller ships. That's like a must. Like a 100% must.
It's with a game the scope of Star Citizen, there's so many ways you can play it your way, whatever franchise I've just stolen that from.
I don't know.
It's less about, I guess, hard gating, but soft gating. Like we don't stop you from doing stupid things. We try and encourage you to go down the preferred
stupid
path.
Things.
Like you have a 1 billion UEC. No one's going to stop you buying an Orion as your first shipping game by yourself and trying to run that. You're probably not going to have a good time. That's why the prospector's there to help you learn about things.
We don't stop you from doing stupid things. And thank you for that.
Here we go.
Okay.
Yes, and Jake Bradley, who's in the meeting, obviously you saw him at the pop-up for the public roadmap. I'm not going to be able to make it, so if you can just delay everything for like a week. So
all features.
So that'd be great. Thanks.
All patch releases. Wait, that already happened.
Sorry.
Somebody asked about 318 going to Evo, by the way. I have no idea. I'm hoping it happens by the time I'm going to... me and my wife are going to join my parents and sister in Europe for a family vacation next month. So hopefully by then it'll be an Evo. That'll give me something to angrily grumble about while I can't come back and cover it. But I have no clue when that patch might be coming out.
Outlook thing that popped up right over your face for a second. Let's see what else we got from the chat here. Has there been any more progress on drones for the ships that use them?
Drones.
Carrick, Reclaimer, Vulcan. I think Apollo had some, maybe?
Yes, sort of.
Let's see.
The Apollo. Short answer, no. There's nothing to specifically talk about. Slightly longer answer is
Blue Moon.
there are multiple scenarios in like Squadron, mostly in like the side missions that make use of them. So they are on the vehicle feature team schedule in the near future to essentially do like a lightweight ship.
That's John.
IFCS that is remote
John looks
controlled
so much...
that will be the
Actually,
foundational
pretty much the same.
aspect
He
of
looks younger
drones
here.
in the PU.
So here's really the only footage we have of drones actually doing anything so far, and this is just a previs in the kind of a gray box sort of mode, but you can see that they have the ideas for drones to be launched from your ship in little vacuum chambers that seal up and allow you to be there in person as well. But that's really all we know about drones. They're so far away that I don't know. I missed the answer. What did he say?
Full scenarios in like Squadron, mostly in like the side missions that make use of them. So they are on the vehicle feature team schedule in the near future to essentially do like a lightweight ship IFCS that is remote controlled that will be the foundational aspect of drones in the PU.
Vehicle feature team. Is it
Tom
actually
the Dog
on
says,
there?
Jared Huckabee, are you happy?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that on there before. Drake Vulture, Drake Mule, docking, distortion, hull degradation. Yeah, ship CPU. Nope. Third person camera. Nope. Yeah, they don't have drones actually on here yet. So that's a ways out. Probably next year sometime. If it's got to be used for Squadron, they better hope it's... I real hope they're going to have that done by the end of next year.
In the UK, I am thrilled. I am happier and healthier than I've been in years. This was a long time coming.
Isn't there already collision alert? They just need to add where your ship is closest to hitting the hangar side of rocks. Are you talking about... What exactly are you referring to? Tracking this... Oh, you're talking about the landing UI kind of thing. Collision alerts don't really give you context. And the thing is, collision alerts only work based on velocity. So, like, if you're next to a wall and you're 30 meters away, but you're only going 5 meters per second, then you're not going to have any context that that wall is there. You'll know for sure, but you only will know if your ship is about to hit it. As opposed to, like, maybe you wanted to know, hey, I can make an escape this way, that way, outside of a cave. But in order to figure out where you can make that escape, you'd have to get up and go over to the window and look outside or go to your third-person camera. It's nice to have, like, a wireframe representation of what's around your ship. You know? I think that's the best opportunity because it's not just about landing. It's about maneuvering in small places. They actually showed this video clip. What was that, last year when they were showing us some really cool new space locations? Let me see if I can find that. Probably not. I'm a scrub. Oh, wow. Okay, I found it. That's surprising. Like a location like this, if you were in first person, you would really want to be able to know this stuff is all around the side of your ship. But if you're in first person, you have no way of knowing that. And I think that's important information to have in a game like Star Citizen, where everything really seems to matter. And then, you know, you have the knock-on effect that it helps with landing and stuff. Oh, come on. You... Google Chrome. Actually, that's not a Google Chrome thing. That is totally a my mouse sucks thing. What was the... There we go. Learn that shortcut from you all. Thank you.
Citizen Lot.
All right, where were we?
I could speak for hours about doors.
Are you happy, Jared?
Tom the dog says, Jared Huckabee, are you happy in the UK? I am thrilled.
Yeah, it's only velocity based. So like if you're sitting next to a wall and you're not moving, it doesn't give you a collision alert. But if you start moving, it does. Same goes for like if you're 200 meters away from a space station and you go up to like 100 meters per second, it'll give you a collision alert. But if you're 200 meters away from the space station and then you go up to like 15 meters per second, it won't give you an alert until it's important for you to know. I think it's a cool idea because it works based on context. But it also doesn't warn me soon enough because I run into a lot of things.
I am
Hey,
happier
Crouch.
and healthier than I've been in years. This was a long time coming.
I get lucky.
Just had to get around to doing it. And come next quarter, you're going to see the next big chapter of me in the UK. And that's all.
If you don't get run down by cars
If
again.
I don't get run down by a car again. I got hit by a car 2 weeks ago.
What? Does he just drop? Wait, hold up. I hate this song. God. He got hit by a car? Must have been just like a grazing. Come on, Jared. Keep up with those. I don't know. What do they call British people? Not Yanks. That's us. What is a British person? Keep up with those T-Wranglers. I don't know what the heck. I don't know.
That was a bit of a sidetrack there.
At least our cars are smaller over
yeah,
here,
that
so
does
they don't
sound-
do quite as much damage.
It does sound far from production. It's very annoying. He lost 2 teeth? Holy crap. Dude. Just Brit. Lads. I like lads. I'll stick to lads. Keep up with the lads.
Damage, like, yeah,
No,
it could have been.
No.
Big pickup.
I looked at it. I'm like, a Skoda? What the hell?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna come after the king. Come in
Jeez.
like at least a Toyota or something. Come at me with a
It's
Skoda.
now the time to mention I drive a Skoda.
T-Wranglers. I feel like that's not fair though, because they didn't actually like do the T. They just kind of brought it into the country. You got to find something that makes them British, you know?
Only for now until you get your eye on it.
I did, so they got written off the other.
Ooh, like
the other
rain. They like rain. Well, they don't like rain, but they get a lot of it.
mysteriously.
Let's see. Let's go to one of the bigger topics here. We've gone quiet on modularity for a while. Are you having problems? What's going on?
Am I having problems in general? Or am I having problems
Modularity.
with modularity.
They're so trying to get away from modularity.
So
We don't have time.
the
for
team
in
that was
general.
going to the team that was going to work on it was the vehicle tech team. That those of you who pay attention to the roadmap updates will see they were rebranded, reformed to the Arena Commander feature team. So naturally, doing like core vehicle tech is not particularly part of their remit anymore. That transitioned to the vehicle feature team. So we had a look at what was planned to be done, and we had a lot of other things to do first. And around the same time as we were doing that, EUPU started working on Resource Network, which I think you briefly showed in ISC this week, last week.
What I'm showing here is the last update we got on modules. It looks like it was in August of last year, so it has been a while since we've heard about this. But this is basically, I think this is Retaliator modules, so it does show that they were working on it. Gray box stage for these modules, it looks like some final art stuff. But the functionality sounds like it's not there. They were working on something else.
Started working on Resource Network, which I think you briefly showed in ISC this week, last week. And you'll hear a lot more of that soon. And that is essentially quite a paradigm shift in how we set up the interiors of vehicles and environments and locations.
Oh my God.
Everything.
Guys, that gets me so happy to hear him say that. I can't. Resource management. Oh! It's like when people ask what's one of my most anticipated features coming up, that's like consistently up there in the top 5. Resource management is so freaking big. And with it comes the heat system, and with the heat system maybe comes VTOL flight. Oh man. I want to hear more about it. Can't wait.
So any of the work that we would have done for the modularity from VTT or VFT, we probably could have like rushed it through, got it in now, and then we'd have to have redone it all anyway when Resource Network comes online. So the work they're doing for Resource Network should, as far as I'm aware, and from all the meetings I've sat in and been part of, allow us to do that out the gate. Yeah, the assets, they're all still there. They're all just waiting for the underlying tech.
Okay, so that makes sense then, because we looked at this, and this stuff looks fairly finished art-wise for the most part. It's just cargo modules, dropship modules, like we've seen all of this before, so feature-wise, they don't really have to add anything in here. It sounds like they're just waiting for the ability to actually make these be swappable in and out of the ships. Hey, don't do that, capture card. So that's good to hear. And if it really does come shortly after resource management, that would be great. I think resource management is probably like a late next year kind of thing at the earliest. It sounds like they're aiming for it to be earlier next year, but I don't, you know how it is.
Not cancelled, not stealthily removing modularity from the game, as some people constantly tell me I am.
No, it's I was accused last week of having too many catchphrases, but one of the one I repeat most often is the only constant in game development is change. And John's mentioning of
In-game
the
night
Resource
vision?
Network or
Real quick, since you did bring it up, I can provide some insight to that, I believe. I think in the last time they did a vehicle video, they talked about night vision or something. Is this the one with John Crew? Yes, it is. I'm pretty sure they talk about night vision in here. It's not on the vehicle team, it's gonna be on the rendering team. So night vision is something that they're gonna have to wait until after Gen 12 to do so that they can understand how the rendering engine will handle it. Did they talk about it here? Let's see.
when we are getting better lights for the exterior of our ships. The mole has forward-facing lights, which allow them to see players in the mining, making it.
Start with the turret one first. There was a problem with turrets that didn't allow us to have lights on it on the reclaimer at the moment for supporting salvage.
This is the one we just listened to. Yeah, I thought I had. No, we don't need this video. I thought there was something about night vision on there, but maybe not. But yeah, they were saying, oh, you know what? I know where it is. I'll do you a solid. Star Citizen Live Gen 12. That's why we can't find it, because it is the rendering team that talks about it. Oops. Not the vehicles team. That's why it's kind of hard. Like, they said that they were going to do an all vehicles Q&A, but they didn't tell us which team specifically it is.
Blue Moon.
Kind of hard to know if they don't tell us, but I'm pretty sure. Here we go. Let's hear what they have to say about it.
Fixed team. What can you tell us, if anything, about night vision tools? Any option for players to improve their experience flying or fighting at night?
Last time this came up, you promised you were going to lynch Todd Pappy. So I think you should follow through on that promise and get him. And because we need, I have technical ideas and thoughts on that, but we need the design. Like, is night vision in the future the same as now? Is it infrared? Or is it based on, some other form of technology? But
the Star Citizen answer.
Yeah, what I've mentioned in the past is that if you want to do it really well, then you you emulate what we call spectral rendering, which is an incredibly complicated field, but there's elements of it you can simulate where you can type of identify the materials that have a non-standard way of reflecting infrared light, which would be like anything that glows in the dark or appears to glow in the dark on an infrared camera, which is type of like reflective gear, like your I don't know, I can't think of any good examples right now, but there's certain materials that type of don't reflect as you'd expect. So they need picking out especially, otherwise doesn't look right in night vision. Otherwise it's type of a filter. You need to type of take your colors and type of it's a complicated topic. It's hard to type of break it down, but what we see as red, green, and blue is obviously not the true picture of what happens in reality. In reality, there's millions of wavelengths of light, infinite wavelengths along a spectrum, and then infrared is just looking at one portion of that spectrum. But the artist doesn't model what happens in that different spectrum. They just model what happens in these very free specific spectrums that the human eye can see. So we have to type of map or guess, how do we get from the artist overhead colors to the type of the infrared spectrum, or whatever spectrum our imaginary night vision might be. And there's ways of approximating that, or for custom textures, if you want to, like, say, if the artist can tell this is exactly what it looks like in infrared. But we clearly can't go and remake every texture in the entire game to show how the infrared would work if we double the textures in the game. So you normally do like some type of automated mapping that guesses, or type of does a best guess approach, and then you type of override the particularly special case ones. But yeah, it's all got to start with Todd and the request.
I get that. That makes sense, because like when you make the game, all judging by the idea that you can't just throw a filter on top of it and it works in every situation, which I imagine it doesn't. They already talk about how they have to design the game and then also look at how it looks in the day and at night and in the evening and in the morning, because of the way that the planets are always moving and everything is real-time lighting, and it's not exactly just like you plop a map down and it looks good based on that time of day. So it makes even more sense when you consider, obviously, they're not designing all of these elements and lights and atmospheres and places with the idea of, oh yeah, we also have to color shift this for night vision. So they have to find some solution that systemically actually looks right when you do it. Sounds frustrating, to be honest. Like, it doesn't sound like something that's easy to do. Just crank up your... Just crank up the gamma by keybind. Could you imagine if like that was a tutorial when you start out the game? They're like, hey, if you find you're somewhere dark, just like go into visual settings and just freaking throw your gamma up. You will be good.
Resource management, as I call it.
I want it too. I feel it. I want night vision.
Who knows what it'll be called? Like, we're really good at naming things here. Ships used to have freight units. Remember when ships had an FU number? We're really good at naming things.
Big FU numbers.
The resource management system is the is the foundation for the future of multi-crew gameplay.
Resource management.
We first demonstrated a little bit of it back in our, I think maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. The EUP team's has been prototyping and building it behind the scenes. You are going to get to see an updated look at where it's at soon.
TM.
You could probably guess. I'm not allowed to tell you, so I'm not going to say it. But if you thought really hard about where you might see it,
Dan Truffin,
in the next couple months, you could
Citizen
probably
Con.
guess.
Okay.
And
this is what they first showed us.
It really is the beginning of where, for me anyway, the dream of Star Citizen starts really coalescing. Because I didn't back to be a dogfighter or a miner or what. I'd back for that Star Trek multi-crew stuff. I wanted to sit on the bridge with people at different stations doing different jobs and having the ship damaged, having to run through the ship and repair stuff and stuff like that. And that's what resource management is the foundation to getting us towards. And like I said, it unlocks everything, like you said, with modularity and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's fair. Some of these features they go really, really hard on, and I think a lot of people would prefer if they just took simpler paths. It's a balance of like, who do you want to please more? And unfortunately, I think the ultimate person to please is Chris, and he likes the complex path. Yeah. I would love something in the meantime that worked. Even like a permanent ping feature of some sort would be cool, but
we'll see if I don't get in trouble for this.
Probably not worth the time.
Remember Chris's letter from the chairman earlier this year? Our annual event that we do in October is not going to be the same as it is. You know, there's not going to be a big keynote or a demo every year. Everybody's focused on PES and 318 and server meshing and getting all and getting this most important year of Star Citizen development yet, done. So it'll be a much smaller thing, but within the smaller,
it's going to be like a long around the verse. Sea of Thieves in space is actually kind of like Sea of Thieves was the first game I played, and I was like, hey, this reminds me of what I want from Star Citizen. So I think you're onto something there, Fat Gus.
I think you can look forward to resource management. It's the thing. It's the thing that gets my engine running.
Yeah, it gets my resources managed.
All right.
Someone asked a question about the 400i doors bug on the tints. Yes, it drives me crazy. So whoever answered that, yeah, it gets fixed, it gets broken, it gets fixed, it gets broken. Drives me crazy.
And we can never reproduce it internally as well.
No.
That's the other fun thing. We think we fixed it, and then it'll go on PTU, and we won't see it for days, and then there'll be one person who has it 100% of the time, all the time, every time. And we're like,
so while we're on the topic of things people have been waiting around for a while for,
which is everything,
like the modularity, let's talk about the larger capital ships, the Idris, the Polaris, stuff like that.
Drazen, this is what you were looking for,
because there isn't a status update. The question is, what is needed tech and resource wise before we can start adding larger capital ships like the Polaris or the Idris to the game?
There's a bunch of optimization work. Naturally, ships of that size, they have a cost to them, and
lots of money.
They are, like Idris and Javelin specifically, they are going into squadron first and being adjusted to squadron's needs.
I think the word squadron is starting to trigger me.
Where they can be a bit more generous with performance than Star Citizen can. So aside from that, we're obviously somewhat at the mercy of those teams. We don't want to have the PU Idris and the Squadron Idris. Just to use a wild example that is not true. Say Squadron want to make the Idris 50 meters longer for whatever reason.
Hey.
We then have to take that on the PU side. So we want to be absolutely sure nothing else is changing on those ships before we bring them into players' hands, because otherwise it's a waste of time for.
See, that's some wild. Oh my God, Squadron! Like, it's like, Squadron's like a leech. I swear.
Both teams internally. From a gameplay side, we don't want.
I'm so
them to just
excited
feel
for
like,
this
hey,
game, but the amount of times that we hear that features need to be working for Squadron, I'm just like, please, just make Squadron happen then.
This is just a ship that is big and handle.
Legit question to older backers and pledges: is Squadron what you all backed for, or was this just direction CIG took on their own? No, Squadron was actually the original place. That's the original Kickstarter. The persistent universe was added onto it. So a lot of people did back for Squadron in the Kickstarter phase, but then afterward, a lot more people backed for Star Citizen. I personally backed for both, and I'm excited for both, but I don't think they're handling things with Squadron correctly. And I mean, we could talk about that all we want, but they just keep doing what they're doing, you know?
Does slowly, and I sit in the pilot seat, and I can fire all the Idris's guns from my pilot seat, but I move at 10 meters a second, and I rotate at 5 degrees a minute.
Which is all
something.
it would be if we put it in today.
Yes.
It would just be like a big, fat, slow Connie.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Dang it! I want my big, fat, slow Connie.
Things like resource network are critical to having a fun multi-crew experience on board a ship like that, because that gives you all that engineer gameplay that everyone loves. Then there's like other supplementary systems that really gel. Like we have docking in game. Docking is like we have refueling. Refueling is like an advancement on the docking system that we put in game. Player controlled ATC is a refinement on top of refueling, and you need that for like the Idris and Javelin for controlling, bringing ships in. And we want to put these ships in game in players' hands when they bring a worthwhile, noticeable like gameplay to them. We don't want to just treat it as like a box ticking exercise. Go, hey, Idris is done, shove it in game.
And I think also, like, you know, these ships are a big investment of internal art and design resources and all the other teams that it takes to kind of make a ship. And like I say, if it's all that investment is going into just making a big empty experience, it's kind of not great.
But Ben, I'm reading in chat right now from Jengalath. He says the Idris has been done for 3 years.
Jared.
Hasn't it been done for 3 years?
I think he's lying.
That's what Jengalath in the chat says.
Because if it is done, then great, because we can just scratch off a massive amount of time in our schedule.
Yeah.
But it probably was like on the roadmap or something as like, and that's the problem with these roadmaps is like they don't, see, this is what people see. And so they see that like, hey, look at this. Look at that. It ended last year in October. And they're like, it's done. It's coming in the game. But like it's so hard to, that's why the progress tracker is basically, here's what's being worked on. It doesn't mean it's being finished. And they say that all the time, but still, it gets people.
No, it is not done.
No, it's not done. Like what we've shown of it, and you know, there is areas of the ship that look great. It is not ready to go out.
Yeah. But as John was just saying, it's not just a question of whether even if it was geometry done, it's not a question of just the geometry being done. That's not all that is involved in making a ship of that size and that scale and that play type, you know, viable for the game. So it's not enough.
And if everyone is happy with what they've seen in game so far and they're classing that as done, then also that's cool.
The thing they're talking about now, I believe, is something that was mentioned at the beginning of last year. Let me see if I can pull it up. I might not know the exact time.
Doing the scans
to be honest, I'm not going to know.
And we want to be able to get that info as well. Star Runner could the pilot seat or the scanning seat of the ship you need from it. Each entity type. So what we're doing is we're trying to make it so that.
All right, let me see if they say it here.
About this most recent push the team has been making. So just start us off. Where are we at? What are our goals? What are we pushing towards right now as far as scanning and radar goes?
Sure, I'll start off. So like, you know, as has been clear, scanning has been the greatest experience in the world. So what we're doing is we're trying to
I'm not going to be able to find it. I'm going to have to listen through at some point to this whole video and find the soundbite. But there is a point where Kirk Tomei did say that they don't want to release ships without their primary functionality anymore. They messed that up with the 400i. They messed that up with the Mule. but it does seem like they're at least trying harder. I honestly, I can't defend it because they say it and then they release stuff that doesn't have their primary function. But it does at least line up with what they're saying about the Idris. Honestly, it feels like it's kind of like say it when you need to, don't say it when you don't. It was a great idea. Yeah, exactly. I just like, I feel like they haven't stuck to it because the mule came out and I guess you can carry stuff with the mule, huh? Like you can put boxes in the side thing. So technically it is a cargo truck, but the 400i is an exploration vehicle without the ability to really explore. So I don't know what the case with that is.
That takes a lot of time off our schedule as well.
Yeah. All right, let's see what else we got from the. Let's go back to the chat here. Let's see.
They fall out a lot.
We'll do a follow-up question to that.
At least it can carry
we've discussed
boxes.
why
I
the
didn't know that.
Polaris and the Idris, these,
So the mule
these
gets a
bigger
pass.
ships that folks have been waiting on for a while, they're not in the game today. They need all these other gameplay systems, all these other features to go with them in order to make them something more. And somebody said I was bashing the Connie. I'm not bashing the Connie. I love the Connie. The Connie Phoenix is like my ship. So I wasn't. I was saying it would. You don't want it to just be a big version of it. You want it to be more.
Exactly. It's got a hot tub.
Actually, it's more the aquariums than the hot tub, personally.
Okay.
Not the bar.
And the bar. And the bar.
The bar.
But there are other ships besides those that folks have been waiting for a while. This question.
Devs, I don't know what you're listing, but the Mule, the Cutlass Steel, and the Hull A all do their primary functionality. The 400i, I'm with you on. It is a cool ship and it's useful and you can use it for things, but it doesn't have its primary functionality, which is exploration. There is no long distance exploration. There is no use of the exploration table, the table star map, whatever it's called. But the Steel is a drop ship. The Hull A is a cargo hauler, and the Mule is a cargo hauler. I think those all work. You want a bigger rover? Hopefully the RSI Lynx will be a little bit bigger.
Question is simply, what is the plan on getting the older concepts out the door in a reasonable time frame? Some of the 2015 ships are 7+ years old, like the Endeavor.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it comes down to priority and scope and resources, which is fun, boring management stuff that I have to deal with on a daily basis. The vehicle team, and I think I've talked about this in the past, like we work to like a 18 to 24 month ahead of time schedule, and we get sort of fairly locked into that.
That is so long.
A lot of the other teams in CIG are a lot more agile, so to speak, but we have quite a long lead time because the
I think
ships
that's
take
why it feels like the vehicle team struggles so much, because they work on such a long-term scale. Holy crap. Let's not forget the Carrack. That's why I was making a point of pointing out this specific video. Because this is where they said it. It was in this video, which was March 6th, 2021. So I'm really judging all the vehicles that came out after this date. And if you look at all those vehicles, they do tend to try and get the primary function of it in, even if a specific like feature of it isn't working. Like the Raft should be able to pick up the cargo boxes quickly, but it can't. But it can still benefit from being a cargo hauler. Same goes for what's another one they put out? I don't know. 400i. That's a bad example though. I guess like the Centurion, the vehicles, they haven't put out that many ships in the last year or two. How many people are in the vehicle team? Depends on which vehicle team. There's a few different ones. So there's the vehicle content team in the EU. There's a vehicle content team in the US. There's a vehicle experience team, which is this group. No, this is the vehicle tech team. So that's, where are they? I think they might have gotten rolled into the vehicle experience team, to be honest. Or the vehicle feature team, I'm not sure, but this is the, yeah, it's so hard to know which team is which. This is the vehicle tech team. This is the vehicle experience team. This is also vehicle experience. So there's like different groups of people that are in the teams. I don't know exactly how many people are on them though. They fixed the hot button, you say? a hotkey for what? I don't know what. Broken up into subgroups. I wouldn't say I guess, yeah, if you consider the entire vehicle team as one thing, yeah. There's like these sub teams in here that are all doing their own things. And like, so the vehicle experience team would be working on things like, what's a specific feature that they might work on? Like the physics rework for Gravlev, quantum travel might be something, ship-to-ship refueling might be something. And then the vehicle feature team might also grab into some of that stuff and do their own work. So they also had some work in the Gravlev physics rework. They probably, yeah, they also have some stuff going on in quantum travel. So they are interchangeable. It is a big team though. How is exploration even going to work? I do have a video for you on that. Star Citizen long distance probing, I want to say. Might bring it up. Yeah. So I'll drop this one to you if you want. It's an old video. It might be a little bit outdated. But it's worth a lookie. I'll probably do a new one once we get a little bit more info, but that's just talking about long distance probing, and then you'll have long distance scanning as well as short range scanning. Could argue that the 400i doesn't have its primary function as it's an exploration ship, and what is considered the primary exploration feature? I would think the holo table. That's what I was considering. It was the idea of exploration as being able to see things other ships can't. Being able to detect things that other ships can't, and that's not a thing. You can't. Yeah, see, that's not even fair. Technically, it would just be scanning, and you can scan, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong in that. Maybe the 400i does have its primary gameplay. Who am I?
And if there's any artists in chat, they will know that like chopping and changing on a weekly basis.
Actually, you know what? How about I pull that up real quick? Because that is a good question. I think a lot of people are curious about. Let me just see when this came out. This was June 25th, 2021. Did I link it by any chance? I did not. June 25th, 2021. All right, let's see what they released then, because they did have something to say about how exploration would work. That's why I made the video. And I think a lot of people in this chat could probably be interested in that. So June 25th would be probably the EUPU team. Let's see. Yep, June 18th. So it's going to be in here somewhere. And we can find it. Boom, first question. The power of YouTube.
What is long distance probing?
Well, long distance probing is basically a system that we want to introduce where players have a ship somewhere in space and they can send out like probes and place them anywhere in the same system. And those probes will ping and reveal basically objects that are of interest there, or anything that might be there. And those objects could be like mining places, derelict stations, ships, anything that we could imagine that you could find there and we could spawn. And so you find something, then what you have to do there is triangulate. So you have to bring in the probes into position so you get the more precise signal on that. And once the signal strength is enough, you can either decide to generate a quantum beacon that you can basically jump to. You could store that information and sell it to other players. Or
I like that he just like really subtly confirms that we're going to be able to place our own quantum beacons to jump to.
Aim to have there is an analysis gameplay where you basically have a signature, a unique signature of what you found there, and then you compare it on your ship. So
okay, not confirmed. Nothing here is a promise. He's just talking about it, but clearly it's kind of in the plans.
Basically, the drones, the probe sends back the signature, and you sit on your PC on the ship, and you compare the signature with everything that you either bought or you collected yourself in the library. and then you get an idea. Okay, this might be in Gladius, this could be in a mining field, and then you can still decide to, okay, I jump there and I look at it, or the risk is too high, I don't jump there. So that's the rough rundown of it.
I think what's important here, what we're going to try to introduce here, is that uncertainty. You'll be able to see a graph of how, it's like seeing the drive signature of a ship. You kind of know the EM, you know the IR, and you'll get the curve of how strong each part it is, and you might look at it and go like, this looks very similar to...
it is kind of similar to Eve, yeah.
And when you jump there, you might have a surprise that it's a lot of smaller ships or a fleet or something like this. Or it might look like a hauler that you might want to pirate. And you get there and, oh, no, it's actually a nitrous with a lot of this stuff being turned off, waiting for prey to jump in. Because their signature, once they turn off some of the things on the ship, might look a lot smaller than what it actually is. So it opens up a lot of exploration for a lot of players. It also opens up a lot of options for traps and creating interesting scenarios where you're kind of going like, well, let's see what happens and who jumps for the bait here. So, and it's up to the players once they get the full analysis to figure out what that thing is. They can jump, they cannot jump, they can sell the information, they can sell it as, oh, I found this very rich asteroid field. And when that person buys it, looks over the analysis data, oh, yeah, that looks like an asteroid field. But when they jump there, it's not an asteroid field. There's, I don't know, it's a booby trap. There's a turret on every rock there, and as soon as you jump in, it goes you up. Because the guy that did the analysis didn't go all the way to figure out everything and actually jump there, see himself what is in that space.
So mobile refueling is working from what I've seen. I did it a lot on stream a couple times. But yeah, it's similar to Eve's version of scanning, and I like it. The things that I take away from what they say here about exploration is that it's very realistic. They didn't say anything about discovering planets or discovering new species or discovering jump points or anything that's super fantastical. I'm sure that stuff could be possible once every year or two, maybe, or something like that. But I really don't, like, a lot of people look at exploration as, hey, I'm going to go discover star systems and I'm going to name planets and stuff like that. But the scale that they're talking about is you're going to go find resources that other players can use to make money. You're going to be part of the economy in that you are discovering and distributing the data that allows the industrial players, the bounty hunters, the pirates, the base builders, the scientists all to do their own thing. So like cargo hauling will be the backbone of the game, but exploration will be the spear tip, in that you're still involved in all of these normal day-to-day tasks. You're just interacting with them differently. And I think that's really cool. I think that's much better than going off on your own 2 light years and like finding stuff. While I think that stuff is cool and we'll still be able to do that, I think this is the bread and butter of what exploration is going to be. That's at least coming from what they've said so far, but they could expand on that a lot. I also like the idea of having to understand what a signature of a ship is. And so like somebody might be sitting there with a book telling them exactly what the signature looks like, and they can match it up. Somebody else might already know it and be able to just right on the spot, yeah, I know what that is. You're not going to have a good time with that. Don't go over there. Like, that's the difference between having a really good exploration person who's been playing the game for 2 years and has that skill, and somebody who just jumped in 2 days ago and wants to be an explorer but hasn't really worked their way up to that. I think that's pretty cool. I hope they stick to that.
Terrible for your concentration and getting into the zone of doing things. Like the worst thing we can do is go, hey, you're working on an Aegis ship for 3 weeks. Oh, by the way, now you're working on an Origin ship for 3 weeks. Oh, by the way, now you're working on a Drake ship for 3 weeks. So we like to, wherever we can, and
how's
there
it
has
going,
been
Rev?
exceptions in the past, once we start a ship, we see it through to the end of release, and we don't tend to start ships now in production without fairly firm guarantees that the gameplay is going to come with them at the end. That was different way back in the past. We would just work on a ship, we'd ask for the gameplay. If the gameplay wasn't there, we'd shove it out. Example, Starfarer. That's not how we want to do things these days, and hopefully people have seen that over the last, I don't want to say 3-4 years, where we deliver ships with their gameplay, because it improves the experience for everyone. So a lot of those big ships that have
I was just saying it was a year and a half ago. He said 3 and 4 years. I'm not part of that.
less standard gameplay. I can't think of a better word. I'll say the Endeavor because everyone's banging on about the Endeavor in chat. It's going to be very hard for me to try and convince Todd or Tony to go, hey, stop working on Pyro, let's do farming, or let's do science. And even if I could do that, that would still be like many, many months ago. Same for the Orion. The Orion, whilst it's a mining ship, is not planned to use the current mining system. It's going to use like a much larger scale version of it. So
yeah, I kind of want to know, can we go back to the roadmap real quick? I want to put that statement to the test. Let's go back 3 years, which would be 2019 October, and let's see what ships they put in since then, because I don't know if that was a solid statement. Let's see. So we got the Pisces, that's check. Mantis, check. These ships are check. Banu Defender, check. Argo Mole, check. Carrack didn't have its exploration functionality, so I don't know. That's iffy. This one basically was able to carry ships. That's about it. Carry ships and vehicles. Drake Cutlass Red, that's a check. Cutlass Blue, check. Prowler, check. Archimedes, check. This is just M50 improvements. Jeez, I thought that was a lot longer ago. Nomad, check. Origin ships are a check, but they're a check. MSR, no, that's definitely not true. Data running is nowhere to be seen. So the Carrack and MSR are both going against that. Talons are good though. Grey Cat Rock good. Cyclone good. Tumbrel Nova good. M2 C2 good. They actually did delay the A2 specifically so we would get that gameplay. So that checks out. Constellation Taurus is good. Anvil Spartan good. Raft good. 400i, meh. I don't really. I'll take the L on that one. I don't think it should be counted, but it can technically scan, so I don't know, whatever. If a cargo ship counts, even though it can't do specific cargo stuff, then I guess the 400i counts, even though it can't do specific exploration stuff. The Redeemer is good, A2's good, the Starfighters are good, Cutlass Steel's good. So they almost did it. Like, all of these are good. I would say that the MSR and the Constellation are the two that really kind of don't do that. Let's go back one more year and see, though. Ballista, Vanguards, 890 Jump, those all have their stuff working for them. 300 series is just reworks. Reliance, the Reliant Mako, no, and the Sen both don't have their primary gameplay. So the Reliant series, the Carrack, and the MSR are kind of the ones that didn't have their primary functionality, in my opinion. 400i and Cuddy Blue, you'd argue no? Cuddy Blue is just oh, because you can't store people in there. Right. That's fair. Yeah, Cuddy Blue also kind of falls short. They're doing better. I'll give them that. They're not really doing exactly what he said, but compared to years ago, they're doing way better. So that is something that's a positive, but at the same time, like, there's a couple caveats in there for sure.
Now, to try and mine the current space rocks we have, be like just trying to scoop up peas with a shovel or something equally bizarre. Again, it would not do the ship the justice it deserves.
Wait, that's fun to hear. That's like literally the only thing they've ever said about what's coming next in mining. Hey, we're gonna have bigger rocks.
Scoop up peas with a shovel or something equally bizarre. Again,
that's about it. But still,
it would not do the ship the justice it deserves.
All modularity ships are lacking functionality. Keep in mind, I'm not saying that those didn't have all. I'm not saying they had all their functionality. They just weren't missing their primary functionality when they came out.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we've gotten better. It would also be fair to say that we've taken a couple diversions every once in a while. and
Yep.
stuff it's we embarked on an initiative to
Azura, I think they answered the Apollo question later in the chat, so I think we'll hear about that. I don't think we'll expect anything with the Corsair though in terms of scanning updates. Unfortunately, they're probably just going to say the same thing. It can scan, it can carry things. It's good enough as the 400i was.
to only develop ships that have relevant gameplay and stuff, and for the most part we've held to that with a couple.
Right,
minor
yeah,
hiccups
Tiger.
every once in a
They
while.
did talk a little bit about
But
that, you're right.
it's still a worthwhile endeavor, for lack of a better term.
Said it again, twice in one show.
So, yeah. As always, we can continue to do better.
Yeah.
I think we're doing pretty good overall.
Getting there. You
let's
guys
see
are
what
getting
else we
there.
got
You're doing
on the
much
list
better
here.
than you were before. Still progress to be made.
Vehicles on the Atlas platform don't currently share paints. Is that intentional?
Kinda, as in,
yes, but no.
Yeah, it's not how we want to do it. It's just how we've got to do it at the moment with how the ballista is kind of.
I like your style, Azura.
Outside, we will revisit the ballista when we can slot that in and allow it to take the additional paints.
Yeah, they're starting on the Apollo after Corsair, I think.
They will all be happy and shared. Just not quite sure when that time's going to crop up yet.
Yeah, and that's part of one of the fun marketing legal fun loops of whilst we do want to do that, we can't put that in writing at the.
Have I just got us in trouble?
Website. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Part
Can't talk. See, you know what? Hold on.
One of the fun marketing legal fun loops of.
And then
I want to listen to this again. So this is talking about paints. This is getting into legal territory.
but
It
no.
sounds.
It's not how we want to do it. It's just how we've got to do it at the moment with how the ballista is kind of set up, kind of technically on the art side. We will revisit the ballista when we can slot that in and allow it to take the additional paints on the Atlas platform, and then they will all be happy and shared. Just not quite sure when that time's going to crop up yet.
Yeah, and that's part of one of the fun marketing legal fun loops of whilst we do want to do that, we can't put that in writing at the.
Have I just got us in trouble?
Website. Yeah.
Okay.
What did you do?
Just committed to something I wasn't supposed to.
Said nothing.
John's like, yeah, we can't talk about that. Nope. Honestly, I didn't even follow really what the question was. I just love the way that he's like, was I not supposed to say that? Oh, that's funny. That's honestly, I'd be terrified to be on one of these and be talking live with these questions coming in and knowing as much as they probably know and like compartmentalizing what you can and can't say. I'm scared of doing that even with my own stuff, and I don't have a fucking $500 million project on my back. So that is, oof, that sucks. Have they said after salvaging what career they would plan to be pushing out next? I think bounty hunting is getting a pretty big update. I don't know if that would be next. Probably, yeah, salvaging, bounty hunting is probably getting another big update, and then after that, engineering.
Are you still considering adding a second entry to the Star Runner?
Get rid of all those Jeffries tubes that Ben. So
I don't know exactly what the problem is. I think the problem is that they are maybe selling paints for the vehicles. They're selling. It sounds like he's saying that the Atlas will, the different vehicles will be able to use each other's skins, and so maybe there's some legal complication in that if you like buy skins for one vehicle and you didn't realize that they'd be useful for another in the future, it might be like they're making you double dip if you buy a skin, like if you buy the same skin for two of the same Atlas platforms because you don't think they could be applied to the same vehicles. In the future, they will be able to, so it's like you spent double the amount of money than you need to. I don't know if that's what they're getting at, but whatever. I think it was him realizing they can't do the paint sharing. Right, so maybe that is it, is that it won't actually be a possibility in the future. but that's what they want, but they can't put that down in writing because it might not be true. I don't know. I'm not really entirely sure. This is why I don't mess with any of the skins. I don't really buy ships for money. I'm just here to play the game and obsess about cool features.
Loves.
Money is...
I think it'd be nice.
Money
I
is
don't
tough.
know when we would do it, but there's space where we could sneak it in at some point.
Also, so I don't get into legal trouble. Not that I will. I do buy ships with real money, but I generally buy them to give them away.
I would like to add more, Jeff.
Which, by the way, we're starting a new giveaway fairly soon, and we have a game giveaway going on that's ending at the end of this week. Sorry for all the interruptions.
We choose as many ships as we can, but John hates me for it.
Let's see. Can we have an update on what CIG intends to do with vehicle flare? We've had the option to customize the 300 series for quite some time. However, newer ships such as the Nomad have come pre-furnished. I don't know why they called that one out, but okay. What is the intended goal here? Thanks.
So intended goal, I guess from my point of view is we want players to be able to customize their ships to their heart's content. We kind of part of mine and Elwin to kind of focus on what we want to kind of try and tick off the list this year is getting our customization plans fully developed and kind of committed to for what we want. I think we're in a little bit like when we come to do a release ship, you get a ship all done and you kind of start walking around it and looking at it and it's like, cool, it's great, it looks empty because there's no dressing in it. And then we start to dress it and then we get this is cool, but we want players to be able to do this. And well, we can't, we're not quite at that point where we can support that fully yet. You'll notice on some of the more recent ships, we started to get a few freebies. When you get your ship, you get your bottle of beer in the fridge and some space snacks and keep you kind of tied over. But yeah, we do want to kind of allow much more customization of the interior of ships. It's just not fully, we can't fully support it just yet. And we've kind of dipped our toe in and kind of lukewarm. So we'll jump in fully, hopefully by the end of the year or at some point soon.
Yeah, we're in a weird middle ground of tech as well that will help us, like PES, persistent entity streaming, will in theory allow you to grab anything, put it in your ship, and it will stay there till the end of time for that ship's life. So that will give you sort of a way to customize your ship, and that goes back to what Ben said. Maybe at that point we will start not bringing in ships with all this dressing and allow people to do it, or you'll be able to buy all the cute fluffy bunnies to put in the corner from shops in game, or there'll be subscriber ones recently we've done the bobbleheads, and that uses the current item port system, and that's why it doesn't work across all the ships. Because
I am 100% behind the idea of them just developing the decals and selling those and then allowing us to apply paints, or even selling decals and then allowing us to apply paints, but then also selling special colorways, so you can get this ship. Where was that thing that I had? I lost it. You can get this ship with a certain type of color that comes with the ship. You can customize it with your own colors, but then if you want, you can pay for a colorway, not necessarily the color itself, but the specific decal that uses a color that you can't normally customize yourself, because that seems like the best way to make small amounts of money very easily from a sale that doesn't really impact anybody else but yourself, and also allows you to show off and stuff. I think that's where the cash cow's got to be, that besides selling Squadron 42, and I hope they go that way. I know a lot of people are pushing for that kind of thing and talking about it. I hope they do that.
Because there's a lot of ships where there is nowhere to put them that's in a nice place, but with PES, people just shove them anywhere they want. So you could have 50 stuck on a table in the back of the ship somewhere. So PES will help do that as well. Resource Network again will add a sort of level of interactivity to those things. The team working on that showed a nice little demo.
Change that salvage tool into a paint tool, you madman.
Tuesday, but maybe it was last Tuesday, where it's really simple, but it shows the promise of it. So there's a desk lamp that you could pick up and move around. and depending on the power state of that room, it's sort of wirelessly connected into that room state. So your cool little custom desk lamp that could change color turns on and off depending on where it is in the ship. Like if that area of the ship had gone down with power, it turns off. It's not like this nuclear powered desk lamp. So there's lots of things coming, and we've tested the water in various ways, like the 300 series one. And when we settle on it, we'll make sure we hoover up all the changes to work. Like anyone that's got their coffee machine in the 300i, that item as it stands will probably get changed to a different item, but behaves the same way and looks the same way to allow it to function with whatever the final system is.
And I think, when we have kind of experimented with this stuff so far, there's been a number of bugs where, you can drop a water bottle when you're shipping, it explodes, or, we had a rogue beer bottle that would cause lots of physics issues because it would never go to sleep. There's a lot of things to work out.
In the back
Forever rattling.
Let's follow that up with another curiosity that appeared.
I actually haven't seen much of the stuff in Forza. It sounds like a cool idea, though.
Naming? Why aren't we seeing
ship
more?
naming.
I'll
Who's gonna
go first?
Who gets to answer that one?
So we rolled it out on limited ships at the time, and we learned a lot from it. Not just on like the content side, but also on the platform side of how to deal with like the waves of naming. But primarily on the content side, there was a lot of issues we thought would happen that did happen, and we don't have a good solution to them. Like, hey, I've named my ship a 4-letter word.
Tommy?
Teeny tiny
This big.
on screen. Whereas someone who's named it 32 characters looks fine. Or it's on an area where there's no lights shining on it, or I put a paint on it and now I can't see it. So we decided with the platform team to stop like the public facing rollout of that until we figured out what's going on with it. But every ship that's been released since that time has the tech there to enable it, and you'll see it on you'll know if your ship supports it because you'll see serial numbers popping up on the ship in various places, because that uses the same system behind the scenes.
Definitely see
But we
serial
have a lot
numbers
more
on them.
control over it because we know it's always going to be this amount of characters. So yeah, if you see
Tommy.
a serial number on your ship, you're pretty safe in the knowledge that that ship is ready for ship naming when we solve the visual issues alongside it.
Yeah, because I think naming your ship's quite a big deal, and the kind of attachment that brings, and feeling like that is part of the whole experience. And then, like I say, when you get it and it's like, Space Bob, and it's like this big, and you can't even see it unless you get the light just right that it's catching on the gloss so you can actually see it. So I think we definitely want to make better use of the.
You sick, Grifter? That's a bummer, mate. Hope you feel better soon. So ship naming was definitely one of those features that they added, and it felt like an alpha implementation. They basically just wanted to get ship names working, and then they did. But now we're hearing it sounds like they actually realized, and I guess this is part of the alpha implementation, they realized the problems that were with it and are taking those into account before they move forward with it. I don't really care that much for ship naming. I know a lot of people want it, and I think it is something that is going to bring a lot to the game. In terms of the priorities for the vehicle team, though, and what they should be getting to work on vehicles, I would imagine ship naming is probably not super high. I'm glad that it works to some capacity. I hope that they can get into that backlog and get it working sometime soon, but I would be hesitant to say it's something that they should be pushing hard on, considering all the other things we need vehicles to do right now.
Feature and improve the kind of the quality and the experience that the player gets to see.
Have you ever considered any food trucks?
Now there's a good one. That's an important
feature. I would love
feature.
to do a noodle truck, space noodle van, space ice cream van.
Flying hot dog.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually on the
part of the reason you pledged the MSRs to name
ideas we have internally that are somewhat on the this is a valid ship idea. Trust me, this list is, we could fill a book with the ideas that we've had internally.
Somebody asked about food trucks
externally of, hey, wouldn't it be cool if this ship was a thing? And a food truck is actually quite high up on the list of things that, hey, that actually makes sense for the game and would have benefits. It's just finding a time and place for it.
Finding a time for it, yeah. Have you guys seen the food video that they did? Hold on, this is a gem. All right. This is a classic gem. Wait, where are you going? This is a classic gem. Let's see if this is way back. Actually, hold on. I think if I could just search for it. Yeah, this. If anybody hasn't seen this, this is the most ridiculous thing. Star Citizen is known for its ridiculousness, for its scope creep, for its absurdity. But this is literally a 10-hour video that they uploaded to YouTube to show procedural food generation. And like, they literally 10 hours of Substance Designer, just in-depth food creation stuff. Like, what kind of food do you want? They've got it. Rice? Got it. Eggs? Sure. Cereal? Absolutely. So, if you wanted, I didn't even realize this was a live stream. So people were just sitting here watching this. Are any of you in here? Like, what? What in the world? 10 hours straight. I don't even know why somebody would watch it all, but, you know. Yeah, I mean, if you want that B-roll, it's all here. Oh, they even got eggs. Look at that. You want to determine the exact shape of your egg white. Is there pepper or is there salt? Some paprika? Like, what is this? Anyways, I'm sorry. Back to vehicle updates.
Who would you want serving your burgers?
Can you imagine the articles that would get written? Star Citizen after however long and whatever, like, adds a food truck. Think of the press we'd get.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, if we had a food truck and a drink truck, then you'd probably need a waste truck.
You need a table truck,
and
so that you have somewhere to eat.
What's a toilet truck, Ben?
Yeah, definitely a toilet truck.
It's just
the opposite of a Drake ship.
Glastonbury, and it's got a whole row of
toilet trucks are what you tie onto the back of your Drake ship with the tractor beam, so that you're not completely left out in the dust.
Do I look like
they are in space?
Yeah.
Nobody leaked that food video outside. I'm surprised it hasn't been a laughing stock.
Vehicles here. What are your thoughts on some kind of artillery ground vehicle?
Yeah, it's something that comes up quite a lot. It's something that I personally would want to have happen. Again, coming back to the gameplay side of things, probably makes more sense when we have, and this is something, almost every time I see Chris in person in the UK office, he asks me when he's going to get his forward observer role for vehicles for relaying data from scanning targets, and that's the thing that would take an artillery truck from I can point my gun in that direction and blindly fire, to an actual usable, hey, I've got my guy on a bike who's a scout spotting the rounds or laser designating targets so they'd land accurately.
Guy on a bike who's a scout, you say? Pretty sure I've got a picture for that.
Maybe.
Somewhere on the old computer. Where are you?
Why can some ships light up an entire soccer stadium at night, but others can barely light 5 meters in front of them?
No, we've already lost the context. I can't find this picture.
I think we things change over time. People's opinions
Chris
change.
on Earth.
Tech
different
changes.
teams do them at different times.
I think we've got to remember that there are ships that have been worked on a long time ago, and there's ships that have obviously we're putting out every few months, and we don't necessarily, or we haven't necessarily gone back and kind of unified all of that across the board. There is some exceptionally there's a wide range of lighting on some of our ships. What I can say is, we've got guidelines now that we've set in place, and we've had input from the lighting team to unify as much of this as we can. I think the other thing is with game development of a game of our size, quite often things can be set one way and you think they're good, and you move on and you kind of you're 2 years down the line and you've worked on 10 different ships since then, and someone's small change in one area of the game has impacted something that was unexpected in other areas of the game, and so
that's such a big kicker that constantly comes up. People are like, why don't they just stop the development and fix all these bugs? Because that happens a lot. They change something in one part of the game and then it breaks another part, and they're like, I don't know how many people in the audience or in the chat are programmers. I am personally not a programmer, but I did do my intro to computer science, got my certificate. Yeah, that's right. Smart dude. No, but I did some coding, and like I made a couple games and this kind of stuff and all that stuff, and like finding errors in code be like trying to pick an imaginary hangnail. I feel it's painful, it's terrible, you can't find it, and when you do, it's miserable to try and fix it, at least in my experience. So I kind of get where they're coming from with that, and I think that's probably what makes game development so crappy, especially when everybody can see it. That's what QA is for. Yeah, that's what we be for. But that's the thing. Like, we're the QA, right? But people constantly are talking about, why are you not fixing these bugs? Why do we keep running into the same bugs? That's kind of it. We complain about a bug, like the NPC on the chairs thing, and then they'd fix it, and then we'd be like, okay, cool. They fixed that bug. That's great. No more NPCs on chairs. And then 3 months later, an update comes out, and suddenly they're back on chairs, and everybody's like, what the heck? There's NPCs on chairs. I hate this game. And it's like, well, it's not because they've taken 10 years to get NPCs off of chairs. You see that comment a lot. 10 years in, and there's still NPCs on chairs. They haven't been working on that for 10 years. They worked on it for a month, and then it broke again. So I sympathize with that. But at the same time, finish the game.
Yeah, everyone loves the scout lights.
Yeah.
But not really.
We use them in the design playtest. We send someone in a scout ahead of everyone else.
Why are there no comments? I've heard that before.
For a scout.
Yeah.
I've actually said that to myself.
I think there was to follow up on Ben's point about people changing things in unexpected places. I'm sure years ago there was an issue where the graphics team changed something with like lights, and it broke a bunch of them, and a lot of the ships at the time used them exclusively. And I can't remember which way it made them go, but it either made them go really dim or really bright. So we went from, like, you could have two ships that were released at the same time, and one used projector lights with a projector texture suddenly became wildly different to the other one. And there's also the forever battle between design and art over art want it to look nice and not blow out the visual of the terrain, and design going, hey, we want this bright enough that I can fly at full speed in the middle of the night.
I'm pretty sure I remember at some point there was some non-arty people that went in and made some change, but then I guess I'm taking the art is more important route, whereas John's probably taking the no.
Evan, you're right. That is Star Citizen.
It doesn't matter if it's pretty if you're dead from smashing into a mountainside.
Yeah, I remember which time, but I can't remember which way it went either. Anyway, it'll all be solved by night vision. Allie Brown. I'm gonna get an email. All right, so while we're talking about ships made
for context, this is Allie Brown, the guy who was just talking about night vision,
different eras and stuff. Here's a question that's thematically appropriate. Realistically, will there be a lot of work involved getting the older ships up to standard in terms of newer design practices and upcoming tech, i.e. relay cabinets, airlocks, bulkheads, etc., or have they been designed in such a way to easily add these things with minimal alterations?
I think it's a bit of both. So from very early on in the project's life, metrics were established for what we thought was all of the ship items we would require, and from that point we made sure that they were accommodated into the ships we were designing. It's sometimes impossible to have like a crystal ball though and see that far into the future. If we take the resource network stuff that's going on at the moment. That's a great example of we knew we needed an item in there. We thought we would need one item of a certain size, so that's the item we accounted for. Now that feature is starting to be developed, and design documents are being written, and people are starting to actually develop and play test and see what it's like. We realized that actually it wasn't going to be particularly fun, or the feature team working on it realized it wasn't going to be particularly fun. So from their point of view, like, oh yeah, it'd be great if we could add this and add that, for especially on like our larger multi-crew ships. Like I say, it's a core element of what Star Citizen is this multi-crew kind of gameplay. And I think there's certain things that you can kind of just go, actually, yeah, do you know what? It's a little bit of a compromise, but we're happy with this for the amount of time it would take. But in this case, personally, I would much rather make it fun and make it good. And if it means that we need to put a little bit more time into doing it, I think that's fine. In general, we're lucky that a lot of our larger ships
will start
have
wars.
Some space. Like,
I think if we could put a little more time into it, it's good. Literal battles are fought over that kind of thinking. You're revisiting code you wrote about 5 years ago, thinking, what were you even doing? I can't imagine dealing with SC source. Yeah, I would write code, and then 2 days later, I was like, what did this do? This is an interesting answer. I think this applies to a lot of the things that people call scope creep, and a lot of the things that cause this game to slow down. I think this is also part of what is going to either make Star Citizen a failure or a really good success, is the idea that they have so much freedom to go in, test these things, figure out if they work on a large scale, and then if they don't, fix them, change them. Look at hover mode, completely gone. Look at derelict ships. They were basically untouched for 3 years. Look at something like the flight model. Okay, I'm not going to even use the flight model because that's just annoying, but there are certain things that they have made major changes on to try and make them work better for the game. And I think a lot of games don't really get to do that with their more integral features. So that is cool, but at the same time, like I said, wars are fought. Some people would say, do not fix it. Just keep going. If something is unfun, let it be unfun. Make sure it works well and keep going, because we just want the game. And that's two different sides of looking at the game itself. And obviously there's a full spectrum of what everybody is okay with playing and what everybody is not okay with playing. But this is a super crucial part of the Star Citizen discussion, I think. It's updating updating old ships to keep up with new ships, and making sure that the new systems coming into old ships are still as fun as they were planned. Where was I? Here. How do you guys feel about that, though? Can you imagine this game without being able to fly in and out of atmosphere? That would suck. It's such a core part of the game. Will NPCs equally be hireable? Yes. Will they tier them like rookie, adept? Yes, they will. Yes to both of those. They're also building the game engine they one day can license for other games. They are, yeah. The game engine's a huge part of it all. There's scope creep in SC, but also the scope was most likely underdefined from the start. So some of what we call creep is just necessary part of the creep. Yeah, it's fleshing out the features that they had already proposed. Biggest success will come with the promised mod tools. People want to buy SC just because of Star Wars. Oh my gosh. To be honest, I think Starfield's going to do that first. I think Starfield is going to allow people to do more with space modding first, but if Star Citizen has mods, they'll definitely allow for a deeper experience. Axis, how you doing? Thank you for coming on with the 7-month sub. I appreciate it. Make sure to get in on that raffle on Twitch, folks.
One thing or another. Let's start with the Hull C. What can you tell us?
Hull C.
Oh, you gonna go?
No, you go.
Pretty sure I have.
From my side, it's getting pretty close to being complete. We've spent we had to spend a bit of time bringing it up to kind of metric standard, and that ship was an example of what we were talking about earlier. How we would much rather finish a ship and put it out than have to kind of keep jumping on and off it. And that ship got parked a reasonable amount of time ago. When we came back to it, we realized that our standards had changed in terms of some of the way we approach things, and metrics were much more important than what they may have been. So there's been a decent amount of effort put into bringing it up to how we would expect it to be now. But it's getting pretty close. Got a couple of artists just finishing it off.
Okay. Chat says you might say it got put on hold.
That'd be the whole D, wouldn't it?
That was Dom Steeler, wasn't it?
My God.
The Ranger.
Oh,
The Hull is a cool ship. See, so most people know the Hull A at this point. It is our small-sized cargo hauler. What the heck? Carries stuff on the exterior of the ship. Has these little boxes. Pretty cool little segment. Has some cool transforming bits. Everybody loves the Hull A. Yay, Hull A. But there are other ships. So this on the right side over here is kind of blocked by chat. So this right here is the Hull A. And you can see that they just keep going up in size. Hull B, Hull C, Hull D, Hull E. Now, imagining that this ship is carrying, I don't know how much, 92 SCU or something like that. I don't know. 92 is too small. Some decent amount of cargo. You can imagine that the Hull C is carrying a massive amount of cargo. So not only does it sound like they're finishing it up because of functionality, I think they also just held off on the whole series because there was no way we were going to be able to have that many cargo boxes. Even if they weren't physicalized, I just don't think they really saw it being worth it for the economic aspect either. Like, you can't sell anything. You can't buy anything that would fill up a Hull C. So it wasn't really worth it. But I think with the expansion to cargo coming up, with the Hull A finally proving that they kind of got the physics grids working out with the transforming cargo spindles, Hull C could be coming pretty soon. It sounds like they got the updates all done. So it's good to hear. Hull C is 4,600 SCU. Yeah, it's lots of boxes. Can you get the Hull A in game? I don't know. I do not know. What pulled you into the game years ago was the idea that you could be the first to discover something and be able to name it. I don't know if that's going to be a super common thing, considering most of the game is in discovered space, but there's probably like small things that we could find, yeah, like caves and stuff, I'd imagine. Now let's listen in on what's going on with the Ranger.
Oh,
No, that's it for Hull C questions.
Sorry,
I never know what Ben was going to say.
We don't got time. We got lots of ships to update on. What can you tell us about the Ranger, if anything?
Naturally blocked by the tech of two wheels. We did some work on vehicle feature team to scope out the work needed. Pitched it to Chris. I was like, hey, here's what it's going to take to do it, and here's the other things that we need to do in that time, and we're doing the other stuff. So it's a shame, but it's sort of understandable when you have the priorities that we have.
That's actually, that is new info and good info to hear. So originally, up until about 15 seconds ago, I thought that the work that would be needed to finish, here we go. This is the Ranger, for those who haven't seen it. It is the proposed motorcycle. Hey, capture card. Come on. It is the proposed motorcycle going into the game, made by Tumbrel, the same people who make the Rovers. And I originally was thinking that the reason behind this thing being delayed, or rather what would make it not be delayed anymore, would be the ground vehicle work that they're currently doing. On the progress tracker, you can see that ground vehicles, where are we? That's weird. Let's see. Improvements. Cave improvements, CIG, entity, lost system, missiles, ocean, wheeled vehicle physics improvements. So this, I was hoping would be part of what would help with the Ranger. And I thought maybe that once they finish this, they could work on the Ranger. which is receiving. Okay, that was definitely on the progress tracker just a few days ago. So that's strange. Did this just get removed? I could have sworn the Ranger was on here. Receiving work towards the end of the year. I literally started writing a script for it. That's really weird. If anybody can find that, let me know, because I'm writing a script for vehicles that are seeing work by the end of the year, and I definitely had the Ranger on there. So maybe they just removed it? I don't know. That's so strange. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to do a follow-up on that. I wonder if they just decided to remove it after that answer. Because I thought it was just the ground vehicle stuff. Was it in the roadmap roundup? Okay, that makes sense. Welcome to the Twilight Zone. That makes sense. It could have been that it was removed in the roadmap roundup. So I was thinking that they might get the Ranger in because of the ground vehicle improvements we were seeing this year, but I can't. I guess not. Bummer. Switch to your view? Nah, it would come up if I was searching it. The timing doesn't really change it. Yeah, I don't know. They must have removed it.
Just take the hover bike and just make it touch the ground.
Oh, sweet. We'll just do that then.
I hate to think of the rocks on a bike without roads, but anyway.
600i rework.
The concept totally complete for the 600i rework. Looks
cool.
Sweet. You mentioned a upcoming event that we can't talk about.
CitizenCon.
It won't be shown there, but maybe I can twist Jared's arm to show a event after that upcoming event that we can talk about it.
Probably
This is too
IAE.
cryptic for me.
I'm just making sure that I can follow the.
Basically, he means maybe after CitizenCon, we can see an update on the 600i during IAE, which hopefully we can.
Follow the logic. Yeah, I gotcha. For folks talking about the Polaris,
It looks
look
sweet.
at asking about the Polaris.
600
look at
eyes are
the
tight.
earlier questions about multi-crew and what's necessary for the big capital ships. Is there anything more you can add on the Polaris other than it needs all those other multi-crew systems first?
Same as the 600i, had a full reconcept pass.
Oh.
Again, maybe we'll show that
Wow,
in a
that's
upcoming
impressive.
event.
I wouldn't think the Polaris would
Okay.
get a reconcept.
But like we discussed with all the
Nothing.
It's a pretty old model.
Yeah, there are no artists or designers actively putting it into production. Both the 600i rework and the Polaris are purely concept redone at this point.
Okay. Folks asking about the Apollo.
Oh, here you go.
Was the Apollo supposed to go?
Azura, this was you, I
work
think?
recently, and then it didn't. It was on the roadmap at one point.
Yeah,
was it?
I know it's on the roadmap.
Okay.
It was going to start, and we are. So the team that would work on it, which is the US vehicle team, they're finishing off the Corsair at the moment, and we have a few options of what they will go on to next. The Apollo is one of them. I'm not promising that it will stay being the Apollo. It might be something else, but you will see that change on the roadmap when that's decided.
Anything for the Perseus or
But
the
what
Nautilus?
what was blocking the Apollo? It sounds like maybe nothing is blocking this ship. They just haven't gotten around to it. This is the Apollo, though. Beautiful ship. In my opinion, the best looking RSI ship. I would love if they made an exploration variant of this, or if I was able to customize it enough to be exploration based, because this thing is gorgeous. But despite much fanfare and a lot of people wanting it, it's still nowhere to be seen yet. And this is the Polaris, for anybody who was wondering. They were just talking about this. Also got a reconcepting. This is just a big old torpedo kind of ship, gunboat sort of thing with a hangar on the top here where you can put a ship.
Nothing. They are where they were when they were last shown at concept.
Okay. Trying to remember every ship that we've shown that's actually
Sitcon's in
pipeline.
October.
Retaliator rework we showed a while back.
Yeah, so the again the Retaliator, we did a decent amount of work on that, getting the interior up.
Does the
to
Apollo
kind of
have drones? I don't remember them talking about the Apollo having drones. I thought it was just the bed. There's just like some kind of a bed that goes out. Patient transport. The Apollo is designed to get in and out. VTOL thrusters, dual shield generators. Ah, yeah. Shepard medlift drones. Each Apollo comes equipped with 2 medlift semi-automated emergency extraction pods, each capable of lifting up to 226 kilograms. Jeez, take your armor off. Each drone is outfitted with payload preservation armor, auto gyro stabilization, and shock balance absorption technology, all patented to maximize patient safety and comfort throughout extraction. That shows up in the concept art somewhere. Did not realize they were drones. I thought it was just this thing, but I guess maybe this is considered a drone, like a medical drone thing. Cool. So honestly, it probably won't come with drones when it first comes out. It'll probably just be able to heal people and transport people, but not have those drones be workable. The flying pizza slice.
Scratch, just making sure that corridors were wide enough and ship items fit where they needed to fit. Doors could fit AI carrying things through and all that sort of fun stuff. This is the one that we moved the dock and collar to the side on the interior. Unfortunately, we had to shift around some kind of some resources internally, so we paused it. So interior is probably like 90% done. Exterior, we need to put some work into.
Yeah, there's a pretty much just bringing the exterior up to modern standards and accounting for the changes we made on the interior, which was that docking collar being on the side rather than top and bottom and the bigger lift.
Yeah, luckily that ship, we did have space to do all the changes we need to and not make it any bigger, which was great, because it's a very beautiful ship. It's just John told me how to move the docking collar. Now I'm learning I might not have to.
For the Corsair and the Bounty Merchantman, I'm going to say that you'll see updates on those in the other show that we do or somewhere else maybe in the coming months. Besides everything we've asked.
Okay, that's really disappointing. That's super disappointing to hear. So Corsair is definitely not coming 318 then. That's a bummer and a half. That means they probably need to update this. They did. Did they update this? I don't know if they extended this out a month, but that definitely means we're not getting it in 318. Maybe 319, but if he's talking about updates in IAE, yeah, that's not promising. Because normally we would maybe get updates. He probably would have said something like, "Oh yeah, you'll see updates on that in ISC in the next few weeks." But it sounds like the Corsair is a ways out still.
It's on those in the other and the Bounty Merchantman. I'm going to say that you'll see updates on those in the other show that we do or somewhere else maybe in the coming months. Besides everything we've asked, is there anything else that's currently actively in the pipeline that's...
Yeah, I think 318 would come before December. And even then, the way that he phrases it just doesn't... They don't really talk about giving us updates in IAE for whatever patch is coming at the end of the year, because that patch is like 2, maybe 3 weeks after IAE. Ship updates coming out that... We would have already been confirmed to be getting it in the next patch, whether that's 318 or 319 at the end of the year by the time IAE comes around. So if he's planning on having updates for it at IAE, that probably means it'll be coming out well after that because delays and stuff. Maybe by December, but I would definitely set your expectations for next year with that kind of answer.
It's not a secret for some big event or something that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, they're not mentioning SitCon.
I get confused as to what is and isn't a secret, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
The danger segment.
Exactly, that's what I would be scared of.
The SRV.
No, I think
the SR. We showed an update on the SRV and
SRV's trucking along.
He says in the other show we do. Did he say the other show? I thought he said in some other update.
You'll see updates on those in the other show that we do or somewhere else maybe in the coming months. besides everything we've asked, is there anything else
in the other show we do? Yeah.
or something
So
that we
maybe ISC. The way that he's mentioning it though doesn't give me a lot of confidence for 318. I'll say that.
touched on?
But maybe they're just being very good at keeping that secret now.
So I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
The danger segment.
The SRV.
No, I think
the SR. We showed an
Yeah.
update on the SRV and
SRV's trucking along. I saw a question go flying up chat about the Crucible. That absolutely will get a concept rework from scratch.
Yeah.
It will still look like your favorite flying space crab.
No mention of
but
the SRV. They just mentioned
it
it.
will have some changes to
They
it.
had just
rework.
The
I
Argo
saw
with
a
the
question
arm on
go
it
flying.
is this SRV.
The SRV.
And they
I
mentioned
think-
that in ISC.
We showed an update on the SRV and
SRV's trucking along.
Yeah, that's got plenty of time left.
I saw a question go flying up chat about the Crucible. That absolutely will get a concept rework, like from scratch. It will still look like your favorite flying space crab, but it will have some changes to account for all the changes that have happened with the game and the mechanics since then.
Yeah. In general, folks, this is my opportunity to remind you all to take a look at the public roadmap, not just the release view, but the progress tracker.
Think they keep too much secret? I think they do fine with Star Citizen. I think Squadron, yeah, they keep too much secret. But with Star Citizen, I think they tell us quite a bit. The one thing that I don't like when it comes to their communication with Star Citizen is when they don't tell us things in due time. Like they wait 3 months to tell us something that they probably could have told us 3 months earlier. For whatever reasons, we'll never know because they don't tell us that. Oh, you meant the MPUV? Yeah, I think that was the Squadron 42 one. I think that was just kind of a teased asset. Sometimes they drop Squadron 42 assets into the videos. Raylan is going to have to wait a while. I don't think we'll be getting that anytime soon, yeah. You've played enough cutthroat games to know you should never trust anyone. That's a way to live. With having to keep going back to old ships to update them, why not halt on ships until the game is in a good place? Mainly because some of the ships that are old don't have the gameplay they would need to be made at this. So like the Ranger, for instance, they're not going to make that just because in order to make that, they'd have to go and make two-wheeled vehicles work very well. And right now the vehicle tech team just doesn't have time for that. Or like the Crucible, like they said, is a big repair ship. There's no point in them dropping that into the game right now because there wouldn't really be that much gameplay for it since they don't have the repair drones or the ability to send those requests for repair and stuff like that. Same goes for ships like the Orion, the Genesis Starliner, the Polaris. These are all ships that have more to them than they can offer in the game. So they're just not building them. The ships that they're putting in game now are generally ships that they can actually make use of. So like the Centurion has the ground turrets working much better. The Scorpius was able to get its transformation working. The Misk Hull A is cargo based. Drake Cutlass Steel is a drop ship. The Argo Raft is these are all ships that have not very difficult features to implement. The first one that we're getting this year really is the Drake Vulture. And that is a salvage ship. And the thing that goes with that is that even though they're bringing in this new ship to introduce that gameplay style, they are updating the old Reclaimer to also be able to take advantage of it. But a lot of times they don't bring in some of the old ships because they don't have the functions. Other times I think it's just because they're more excited about new ships. I don't know.
Of it, that is your best estimate about what ships are actively in development. The only secrets that are hidden from that are the ones that you don't even know exist yet. Upcoming concepts and stuff like that. So if you don't see your favorite ship on the progress tracker,
yeah, Vulcan's missing a lot.
It's not an oversight. It means it's not in active development. So you can take from that how to manage the wins.
I love the fact that everyone in chat is asking for a different update on a different ship as well. So it kind of proves how hard the decision of prioritizing which ones we work on next becomes.
And there's a lot of Chads in chat that were asking for the Genesis Starliner on my behalf, but I'm not even going to do it.
It's going to be your retirement present.
It'll be when its time comes. I've said this before. I will continue to say it again. This team gets better with every single ship they make. So for me, who loves the Genesis Starliner, they can take as long as they need, because it just means it'll be better and better.
The real question for chat is, which one shall we do last so it's the best?
The Endeavor.
Oh, which ship should be last?
The Endeavor.
All right. That's it for this week's show, everybody. Thank you, John and Ben, for taking your time to hang out with us this week. Remember, Ship Showdown is ongoing now. There's a bunch of social media stuff going on where you can help influence which ships make the Sweet 16. I think that's what they call it. I'm not a sports person. So check that out on the RobertSpaceIndustries.com website for all the details and the rules and stuff like that. And remember to vote for which ones make it to the Final Four and get sweet new Ship Showdown paints. The paints have also been improving. So I haven't seen this year's one, but
I don't know what ship is yet, Jared. So I can't do anything with it.
I like the whole A paints that came out. They look pretty cool, little duotone style.
And I think we're gonna raid somebody. Jake, are we gonna raid something? You're setting that up, right? Because I don't even have the buttons for that stuff. So yeah. So take care, everybody. We'll be back next week on ISC. I can't even remember what the topics are right now.
Thank you for the service. Appreciate it. We might not like all the answers, but we appreciate that you at least come out for an hour and do it every week. Solid. Let's see now. I'm gonna jump back a little bit to basically the same kind of talk, but from a few months ago. They asked a couple more interesting questions than that, so we'll review that real quick. And I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. If you guys have any particulars, we'll jump out, see if we can find them in other videos, and listen to what they have to say about upcoming ship changes.
Things like VTOL mode sort of lose meaning when you can just hover upside down or nose pointing at the ground. Why does it make flying easy, especially for things like the Prospector? While it does make flying easy, especially for things like the Prospector, it does break immersion. Are there any plans to force ships to stay close to horizontal at slow speeds? This would also affect ground combat and make it more necessary, as you wouldn't just be able to point straight down at targets.
Love this. Love this. I just made a video about this, by the way. Anybody who is a Twitch subscriber or a YouTube channel member, make sure to check that out. It's not bad.
Just that one is yes. So it's probably worth explaining. So at the moment we have aero surfaces on these ships, but it doesn't fly like a plane. So they're still driven by the thrusters, but we do change them based on the planet they're on. So they do lose some power in atmosphere, but the thrusters to generate the performance in space have to be set in strengths. To generate the accelerations that we require in space. And then when you fly in atmosphere, you lose some efficiency, but we still need the strength of the thrusters to be able to push the ship through the air. And actually pushing aero surfaces through the air takes a lot of strength to be able to do that. So we are limited in terms of, to get the maneuverability in atmosphere currently, we still need quite strong. We still need quite strong thrusters, which means you can hover quite easily, but that's not always going to be the case. So in the future, we are going to move towards control surfaces, and this is going to allow us to move the movement of the ship from thrusters to aerodynamics. So it's going to be the aerodynamics driving the maneuverability of the ship in atmosphere, and then the thrusters are just going to help a little bit.
So that work
help just move the ship.
You can see is already scheduled here. Aerodynamic control surfaces.
Primary source. So if you're flying a Gladius, for example, and you go really slow, it's just not going to have the power to kind of keep it up. And that's where the VTOL ship's going to come in, where they can transform from flying VTOL and hover, and that's where they'll have the advantage.
Never mind.
But we need to add control surfaces first and work out how we do all the controls with that as well, because it's quite a complex problem to solve.
There seem to be a bunch of items on the tracker that are finishing in September. Are these all coming in the next patch? Usually no. If it's finishing within a couple of months of the patch's expected release date, they're usually not going to go to the release branch unless they have already been determined for that patch, or they're kind of smaller features. I wouldn't expect any of them to be there. There's a possibility, but generally it's not worth banking on.
Without going full flight simulator, for example.
Right. Didn't we do some version of this before with adding the
old hover mode?
Oh, the old hover mode.
To an extent,
Ooh,
yes.
Get me started on that.
But that sort of tried to solve the problem in a different way, and some people liked it, a lot of people didn't like it, and it was the right idea with not quite the right implementation. Another thing we can look at when all the stuff Richard's talked about is heat. We don't really use heat at the moment because the way heat works in our game is not how we want it to work long term, and this is something with a resource system that is being entirely redone. But for ships that, like a Gladius, as well as needing that control surface to keep up in the air, like if you're not going fast, those thrusters can start overheating as an extra penalty, because in reality you could just upend your Gladius like that and balance it on its main thrusters, but because they're powerful enough to do that, so they should be powerful enough to do that, but they're going to be working so hard that heat is going to build up, and we can cause intentional problems doing it that way to stop. I've seen people landing their Scorpiuses on the wings that way, and that sort of stuff will start being a lot more rare. Like
a Gunstar in Last Starfighter.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give my 2 cents on this because I'm strongly passionate about the whole hover mode thing. I think the first version of it sucked because it was artificial. It was an artificially limited part of gameplay, which isn't really what they usually do in Star Citizen. Like, for example, they don't just stop you from overdosing somebody when you're giving them drugs. They let you do that because, you know, like it's immersive. It's a immersive sim kind of genre. They want you to have freedom and also pay for the consequences of using that freedom. So I always thought that the original hover mode was really dumb the way they did it because it didn't really line up with that. This system is almost the same in that they're basically saying, yeah, you can hover. Yeah, you'll be cool to stop flying very fast and depend on your thrusters, but you're gonna have to remember that at some point those thrusters are gonna take damage, they're gonna overheat, they're gonna fail, and that's gonna cause you to reconsider how you're flying. That's gonna be a huge change. I'm sure a lot of people are really gonna hate that. It's gonna make the game harder. It's definitely gonna make things harder, but I think it also kind of specializes the idea of flying in atmosphere. See, now you can start to group up with people who know how to fly in atmosphere, group up with somebody who knows how to drop their prospector down into a cave and mine something especially valuable. And I like that because it adds another dimension of flight, allows people to specialize, allows somebody to be proud of their skills as opposed to just proud that they got good, as they used to tell me. I think it's a solid change, and I'm excited to hear that it's linked into the heat system and not just like some random, oh, this light flicked on, I can't fly like this anymore. As long as they give us visual and audio feedback telling us that the heat system is kicking in and these things are starting to wear down our ship, I think that sounds like a pretty solid change. I don't know when they're going to do it though, because they've got control surfaces on the progress tracker, but control surfaces don't necessarily mean that they're going to get the heat system working. And if you look at resource management, which he did say is where the heat system is coming in with, it doesn't end its work until next year, and given how big a feature this is, I would expect this kind of work not to start to show up until Q3 of next year. So about a year from now is when we might start to see this, but that's a when answer, and those tend to screw me up. So don't take my word on that, but just judging by what the progress tracker says, I wouldn't expect to see anything on this until next year, but expect it to be a big change. The Reclaimer is a brick already, and it needs it to use its VTOL. That only makes sense. Yeah. Hovering should only be allowed on vehicles that have VTOL-capable engines. But that's what I like about this. Because imagine if you start the game in an Aurora, and you fly down to a city, and suddenly you crash because you can't VTOL. Instead of just making them crash immediately, they can say, you have 25 seconds to fly below 100 meters per second, and then you're going to start to take some damage. I think that's still too short, but the idea is there. You know, remind the newcomer, hey, you've got 30 seconds, you've got 40 seconds, you're starting to take some damage. You might need to repair your ship. Make sure that you are flying this way or that. Make it easy, but also make it a little bit worrying. And then I lost my train of thought. But I can show you where this idea comes from. Star Citizen thrusters. This whole document kind of tells you about this. We have different types of thrusters, main thrusters, which can do this sort of prolonged thrust, and then maneuvering thrusters, which sort of are meant to move you around quickly with short bursts of energy, kind of like this. And you can see them all firing on the front of the ship. The idea is that these won't be able to support your ship like that, whereas a VTOL thruster will. So you won't have to worry about time with that, but you will with other ships. And they do also mention here that you can swap out thrusters. So I think it gives them so much opportunity to be like, hey, as a newcomer, maybe you should head to the nearby component shop and get a thruster that's less heat prone, so you can stay stationary in atmosphere for longer because you're a newcomer. Yeah, it'll make you show up more on scanners. Yeah, it won't give you as much fuel, but you won't have to be stuck, flying like a maniac because you don't know how to land quickly. So I feel like that kind of a change makes a lot of knock-on effects that can make the game a deeper experience. That was the short of my opinion. If you want the long of my opinion, I made a video about it. It's on YouTube, and you can go find it if you are a YouTube channel member. That's my second plug. I promise no more. I'm just really proud of that video. Let's keep going.
This person would like to know when we are getting better lights for the exterior of our ships. The Mole has forward-facing lights, which allow the pilot to see in front of the ship.
That's fair. The Aurora has VTOL. Let's say the Mustang.
If you try to land on the dark side of a moon or planet, you cannot see below your ship, so you find yourself landing on large rocks or uneven terrain. Also, the players in the mining turrets are unable to mine rocks in the dark because mining turrets do not have lights on them, making it very hard to see the rocks below the ship.
Yep, so I'll start with the turret one first. There was a problem with turrets that didn't allow us to have lights on it back when the Mole came out, and that's something we are actively fixing.
What are the plans for reintroducing cannons into dogfighting? Are there?
They're still in. I mean, you can technically dogfight with them at the moment. Technically.
Technically, yeah.
Is technically what we're looking for here?
Yeah, well, it's... So, again, it comes back to the big rebalance of weapons that we did. We tried to put in a specific purpose with size weapons and type of weapons.
Thank you, soldier.
To give them kind of, reasons for choosing that weapon. Depend on your kind of purpose. If you want to destroy a light fighter, you want quick, sharp weapons. But if you want to destroy something like a medium to heavy starship, you need something more impactful, like a cannon, for example. So, yep, we are still learning lots with the weapon balance and how we can kind of redefine kind of the different styles of weapons we have in the game, and what it means for the different ships as well that you can fit these on, because you can have certain weapons.
Finalize that. No, finalize that, please. I know that the development hasn't really picked up in the last couple of years, but write it down. What does a ballistic do? What does an energy gun do? What does a distortion gun do? Just make them happen, please. For God's sake.
That work well on a certain ship, because but then because we're Star Citizen, you can fit that weapon on pretty much every other ship as well. So if it's got the right loadout and stuff, so it's quite tricky getting the balance right.
Yeah, they'll probably fix the altimeter before that. I think the altimeter fix will probably come with the HUD update. The HUD rework. I mean, the building blocks rework.
As a pathway in the future.
Speaking.
Wait, no, I'm sorry. They already did that. I don't know what would fix the altimeter, but I do hope that they do fix it before the hover mode, the VTOL stuff starts.
Speaking of balance, why does CIG say they don't want a meta for ship balance, but they continue to nerf every ship outside of the Gladius Arrow?
Right,
Gladius and Arrow. They don't. Those are two different ships. It doesn't.
Well, I'm going to go nerf the Gladius and Arrow right now. But on a serious note, that's not our intention to look like we're just nerfing certain ships. But the balance of ships it's quite complex because the way Star Citizen is, everything we're trying to do right. We're trying to build ships that work as fully functional ships. And as and even the shape of the ship defines a large portion of how well that ship performs in combat. So we've got a ship like the Arrow, for example, which is seen as kind of an overperformer, but it's such a small ship, and its shape, which again goes back to the combat geometry at lower speeds. At the moment, with the combat, we kind of have really that kind of nose on nose where you're aiming at such a small part of the ship. We want to change. So ships like the Arrow might actually lose some performance when we lower the speeds right down, because you'd be aiming more at the top and the bottom of the ship when it's more surface area. But as far as not wanting meta, we just want all ships because all ships have a purpose, and then we've got like a window where that ship operates, but I wouldn't say we're ever tying that ship specifically to that kind of meta. And that's
what I'm just realizing, because over on John Crew's screen, like this is John, the other person in the call, and then this is Rich, and you can see Rich in John Crew's screen, so that means John Crew can see the back of his head over here on the left side of his screen. That must be weird.
That's kind of what we mean. We're not, we can have a ship that is defined as a light fighter, but it doesn't mean we're just gonna go, it's a light fighter.
Yeah, he just fixed he saw his posture, he's like, oh, I gotta fix that.
We give it 50 points here, 50 points here, 50 points here, because it's a light fighter. And that's basically what we mean, and then that doesn't generate a meta. We want all these different factors that Starter provides with its ships to kind of matter in different ways, and it's how all those different ways come together. And and as I said before, it's a continuously moving target as well, so it's a challenge to keep right.
Yeah, whoever asked that question must have forgotten about the time where we removed half the Arrow's shield generators to bring about. It was never supposed to have two. It was supposed to have one, but it had two for over a year.
Yeah.
And there was a big outcry when we corrected that back to where it was supposed to be.
Shiori, I'm betting that has something to do with the fact that they don't have control surfaces working. So they probably buffed the ability of the ships that are aerodynamic to fly better. Just not even naturally, artificially buffed them to fly better. And then maybe once we get these control surfaces in here, they can drop them back down to what their normal operating range would be, and then you would see a relatively more reliable model between the two ships. Because I can understand if the game just says, okay, C2 is very aerodynamically shaped for atmospheric flight, so we'll compensate for that and make it fly better, but then they go a little too far and make it fly better than the Connie. I don't know, just a guess.
From being the best, the really best, to just the best.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's even the best. It's certainly
a
strong
in space
choice,
I can't speak for.
There's definitely no there's no protected ships in Star Citizen that get special treatment over the others. If something is way outside of its intended range, it will get looked at and sorted out one way or the other.
Okay. I won't argue with you. I won't argue. There comes a time where you've been killed by Vinny Sinatra and his arrow so many times you can't. It's hard. You have to be like, no, it's the arrow. It's not me. I'm not the one who's just so bad.
No, it's him.
It's always
not the
me.
arrow, it's him.
Yeah, no, it is.
I'm so bad at flying.
It's his skill, because I'm pretty sure he could do it in any ship. He just prefers the arrow. We've been talking a lot about reducing the speeds and stuff for combat. What about racing? Any racing support that we can look forward to? Like we talk about game mode or flight modes, like maybe a racing flight mode or something that turns off all the weapons and missiles and just lets us race or something. I don't know.
That's probably more one for the Arena Commander feature team. I know they are at the moment looking into a few racing specific things, but that's not really our wheelhouse to divulge their information. But it's definitely being looked at. We don't want to. The lowering of combat speeds is not really going to remove racing from the equation. I know there's a very, let's say small, there's a dedicated fan base for it that we don't want to exclude from the game.
Okay, fair. Anything you can tell us about the store box for the Aurora?
It's
Steak
a box.
sauce.
It's I use this as a get out clause all the time, but it is genuinely true. Cargo refactor will make it be a thing. I'm not going to promise it's going to come with the patch that the cargo refactor comes in, because there are some asset requirements to adjust it, but we will not be blocked from making it be a thing at that point.
Okay. For vehicles with snubcraft, will there be improvements to relocating the parent ship from the snub after navigating to a planet's surface?
I gotta make a command for that, huh? Exclamation point, pray. Oh, that's pretty funny.
The moment once you reach a certain distance from your cap ship, it becomes impossible to relocate.
Yeah, I think I'm not entirely sure what the specific issue there is, but it is something we are aware of. I think you just lose the marker, which is a bug, because you have your last known ship marker, which naturally when you get in your snub ship is the ship you're in. So you then lose the marker for
Answer
the
the call.
constellation.
You're terrible.
That's something we want to fix in the future, but that's less vehicle team, more UI feature that the new star map will help with that. The new marker system will help with that. Being able to pin things on the star map
Yeah, this is before, this was like around when 317 came out. Store all box I think got fixed in 317 1 or 2. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure.
And if you don't see your ship, but you go, hey, I'd left my ship here, bam, you can send that to your friends, whatever.
They definitely do look at Spectrum. Like, they look at the threads for feedback on the combat stuff, because they've made changes to the flight model that came directly from the community. Some of the things surrounding the way that aim works, surrounding the way like ESP works and stuff, they came straight from the community. So they do talk about it, and I have no doubt, absolutely no doubt, that they're watching the videos. I mean, they've told me that they're watching videos, and I know that these guys who make gameplay videos that are talking a little bit more about the fundamentals of the game, they definitely watch that stuff. You know, maybe they don't implement that stuff very quickly, but I do think they take it into account in some sense. It'd be nice if they did it more openly, more in front of us, but I think they also are wary of complications that come from doing that.
Being able to mark locations will be a big help.
Okay. This one simply says, player-facing ship modularity? Question mark.
Yep, still planned. Again, like the answer I gave earlier, the people working on it were reprioritized onto other squadron work. So no progress since I last talked about it. It's still planned, still something we want to do, still going to support it. It's not, people think I have a secret vendetta to cut player-facing modularity from the game. That is absolutely not the case. It's something we want to do. But there is a place in Star Citizen for both modularity on ships and baked variants. They're not just one or the other.
Okay. Will ground refuel vehicles be a thing?
Yes. These are all the people that want that one fuel tanker that was in the background of the Vulcan concept.
Yeah, that's why I was saying. That's why I mentioned the YouTube videos as well. It's not just Spectrum. They do the YouTube videos. They actually come into Discord a lot, and they'll talk to us there too. I can't speak for all of the other content creators, but I know, for instance, that they've spoken hands-on with Salty Mike about mining when he was doing a lot of mining and making a lot of mining content. Who else? They've talked directly to Astropub when it came to lore stuff. Like, they talk to these people. Don't know if they've talked to A1 or Winters or anybody else who's combat focused, but I wouldn't put it past them.
Bones really wants to make it happen, because spaceships run out of fuel, and you can get Starfarer to come refuel you. Ground vehicles currently don't use fuel, but we want them to use fuel in the future. So then, naturally, that will need to be a thing, because if I can only dread people trying to refuel like a little ground vehicle with a Starfarer planet side. It's
just blow it up with
not the best
fuel.
application of tools to fix the job.
And
Lord
how about
Stradamus.
boats?
Would love to do some boats. We've got the tech to do it right now. I'm not going to say why, but for the PU, like a lot of our vehicles and ships now, we want to deliver them alongside the gameplay. And at the moment, there is no gameplay for having boats, and there isn't really enough environmental locations to even have them. Like
Heck no, there
Hurston
aren't.
has some water on it. I think
Holy
a couple
crap!
of the moons.
When I saw boats come onto the progress tracker, I almost spit my tongue out. I was like, "What? Boat parameters?" They did the work and like finished it up, but I was like, "Why in the world?" At this point, that was a weird one for me, and then I realized it's Squadron 42 focused, so it's probably some set piece, and they're probably not going to actually do anything in Star Citizen with it for a long time. But my first reaction, I was just like, huh? Yeah, it's definitely not for Star Citizen. That's what I missed the first time, is only for Squadron 42 kind of thing. What are my guesses as to what's in Jared's secrets folder in the all videos Q&A? Probably memes. Let's be honest. Probably Jared memes. Ground vehicles needing fuel is stupid considering how power plants work. But power plants in the game use fuel. At least in terms of their, what's it called? Let's see. In terms of the power management, you can see in their mock-ups that they have, power plant is here, but it actually pulls from the fuel tank. Unless the fuel tank gets empty, then it pulls from the battery. I think at least in terms of their fiction, that's how they want everything to kind of run off of different versions of fuel. Jay Lee pictures. Yeah, that's that's a good guess. It's probably pictures of Jay Lee doing different artworks and crazy poses. Is the map rework actually near done because it's on the tracker? I doubt it. I think it's probably they've got some good work on it, and they are talking about things like how to render space clouds, so that means it sounds like they're polishing it up to an extent, but I wouldn't go by the tracker as to when it would be done. This was a month and a half ago in the monthly report. I'm waiting to see what they say in this monthly report. I think August will be a telling one, because it'll be right. Actually, September will be the telling one, because that'll really tell us what they're thinking once they get to this point. So they're doing graphic stuff, and you can see the graphics team is here. That's their work, so they were probably the ones who were looking at the cloud tech. But like, we haven't heard anything else about it other than the monthly report. They're probably going to try and show it off in CitizenCon or something. Maybe we'll get it at the end of the year, but I don't know. What the hell do we need boats for in Squadron 42? We really have an entire team workload going towards one single player mission. Again, it's probably not a team. It's probably like a single person. It's the Arena Commander feature team working on it, it says, and they've got a lot of other stuff. And they actually finished it a while ago. So maybe it's I don't know, maybe like a ship crashes into one of the Odin system planets, and like you have to get out into a boat to get picked up. I don't know. I have no clue. It's strange that in real life fusion power plant fuel is water, but in SC it's quant. Water's too easy. Gotta be harder. Anyone here remember how difficult it was to fly properly in Sturmovik? Easy to learn but hard to master. You need something similar in Star Citizen. Yeah, that'd be nice. You're annoyed at the current star map only 3 months in. It's terrible. The star map is the worst part of the game by far. I hate it so much. Thought our fuel is a propellant through the power plants, though the power plants are nuclear. I actually don't know. That's a question for the Astropub. I have no idea. About the requisites for making capital ships viable in game, I remember these sprint reports showing components that could break and fix with replacing fuses. They showed the models for that. I used to have that, but I don't think I have a video of that anymore. Those are old. That's an old video, like 2018, 2017. This is all I have in terms of components. And it kind of showed some of the work they were doing in terms of interactions, opening a component up, taking out the subcomponents. If they're damaged, replacing them with a new one. As you can see, that one looks a lot better. Putting it in. Like, this is all stuff that's going on behind the scenes that they clearly have been working to build towards for a while now. This one being November of 2020. So that kind of stuff that you're talking about, it's around here somewhere.
Let's have some water. We've got the river.
They use hydrogen. Gotcha.
There's not enough to justify boat gameplay at the moment. Today, right now.
Nothing on the Odyssey as far as I'm aware.
All right. We're about 3/4 of the way through. You ready to hit some ship status update?
Yeah, I think they're going to update the
dates.
They'll update the interaction system. So if you look on the progress tracker, whoops. They've got a couple of updates for interaction here. First is the player machine physical interaction tasks, which are coming up later in the year. Weapon handling is another one that focuses on interaction. And then hints and interactions, which is work that's currently ongoing. Let's see. So this looks into player status, item status, environment status, and interactions with both the game world and objects within it. So this is work going into interaction systems. And again, they have 2 other updates on it. Both are just listed. We don't know exactly what they're going to bring with them, but yeah, interaction system sucks. They've got work to do on it.
It's as always when we do these, a big chunk of the questions are just
they
some
showed
variation of where is my ship,
component
or
footage.
where
You're
is
right.
this ship and whatnot. So
I should get some little paddles of no, yes.
All right, so we'll group these up here at the end here. What is the status of the RSI Polaris? Last we heard it got a bigger hangar. Last we heard was that it got a standard hangar, weapons component upgrade, and interior pass.
You heard correct. I think I said that, and that is still true.
I don't know who else would have said that.
It had a full reconcept. Well,
oh my
not
gosh.
full,
I can't believe, wait, so he already answered this 3 months ago that it got a full reconcept, and then they answered it again in the episode last week that it got a full reconcept. I have no idea how they solved this problem, but like, maybe they should just put, I have no idea. They like transcript each episode and then just copy paste the answers into the Spectrum thread when somebody asks it again. I don't know.
A hefty one, mostly on the internals. It grew a bit. I can't remember the number off my head, but it grew a little bit longer. Not Foundry 42 doubling size like we used to. The big thing is the hangar is a standard metric size. I can't remember what one it is, but it is the closest one to whatever it was, just not bespoke anymore. So
small.
It was this weird trapezoidal hangar, and it still is, but the area inside it is the metric for, I'm going to say extra small, which
extra small
internally is, I think, small backer facing. So all your standard fighters will fit in it. No more theory crafting and Reddit images of here's the top images of these ships, which will fit. Components got a little buff up as well. And the interior, I don't think it ever had a docking collar on it. It now has the proper size docking collar.
I hope so.
On it.
So from the player perspective, the small hangars that they can land fighters and stuff in, that's what it's got now. So if it fits in a small hangar,
they're like the Gladius, the Saber, because internally we have confusingly a numerical size 0 to 5.
What, you start counting with 0?
Yeah.
No,
only in this instance.
Can
Save your rants for later.
you really?
It's an anti-British rant. What's being done on the Hull A and C with new tech? They haven't said anything about it. other than that the whole sea is coming in. I imagine... Actually, I'm going to not imagine. I'm going to speculate. Maybe we'll see the boxes work with the cargo refactor start, but I don't know. I don't know. Loving these juicy tidbits. That's what I'm here for, Matt. I got you. Yeah, the attention only lasts 3 days. That must be so frustrating for them, especially Jared. He has to ask these questions over and over to the same people that he knows already have the answer. I wonder what kind of conversations they have before these sessions where they're like, okay, you're going to have to answer this one again. Yeah, I know. Don't worry, I'll take you out for a drink afterward.
All right, and then concept changes are to the interior, which mostly hasn't been seen or shown much anyway.
Yeah.
Stuff that the backers are familiar with. I mean, it still looks like the Polaris.
Yep, still a big flying Dorito. Externally, you probably, unless you had the old one next to it, you wouldn't notice any difference visually, aside from being like maybe 5% longer.
And for folks, the immediate question is, well, when are you going to show us the updated interiors?
When you ask very nicely.
No.
Yeah, the whole A is the first
Jared's
ship with the
Twitter
resource system working.
Let's say without making a promise that I am not empowered to keep, we will revisit this idea around IAE and see if that seems like an appropriate time to do this again, because that's the next big thing after Fleet Week. So we'll see if we can't do a little segment on the new Polaris interior.
I don't know if cargo will be more profitable with the cargo refactor. I guess if you're good at it, it will be, because cargo is kind of still not that valuable. Definitely going to be more of an option though. Like piracy is going to actually be realistic after the cargo refactor, which is cool, as long as the other supporting elements are still there. I agree with you though, Chris, about the inventory system. It looks like the next big update to inventory is coming with the lockers update, which is scheduled to be finishing up work this year. So maybe 4.0 next year kind of thing. I don't know.
It's not saying it's going to happen. It's saying we're going to try.
1,000 upvotes on this.
What is the status
It'll
of the
take longer for
600i
sure.
Gold standard pass?
So it's had a concept repass
600i. Repeat questions constantly.
Very similar. It has a docking collar, which is like the big ticket exterior change. Internally, though, it's been quite a major rework. It still has a lot of the same feel about it, just with a much more sensible layout. There's a lot less up and down to get places. The big ticket thing is the modular room is no longer in the middle, it's at the rear. So everything that was in the rear is sort of moved into the middle, so all your crew habitation and engineering
That's a big rework. That's going to change the shape of the ship interior a lot.
Internally stays the same.
So the question about the 600i derelict is a good one. I imagine they'll have to update that.
The touring one's a better one. So that in the current version, we have that back room with a big panoramic window that suits the touring one better. And then exploration has all the exploration stuff in the back there as well.
How about the Aegis Retaliator Gold Standard?
That got paused again. The resources on it needed to be done on somewhere else. So what we showed last time with the updated central room, with the docking collar on the side and the bigger lift on the other side, no infinite drop hole through the top and bottom of the ship. That's where we pretty much left it. We'd widened all the corridors so AI can successfully navigate around it because it was too tight.
It does make sense that we're asking
left
similar questions.
The cockpit dashboard needs bringing up to current standards. It's a bit old school
For some of them, yeah.
both in terms of visuals and setup. So the work we've done for the Gladius will sort of get transplanted and upgraded into the Retaliator, and then we need to make the exterior match up with all the interior changes because those corridors have got wider. They don't stick out the hull, but it leaves very little room, so she'll get a little little thicker in places, but not massively. And of course, docking colonies to go on the side, which will necessitate the wing thrusters moving a little.
We showed that in a sprint report some time ago.
Yeah.
With the Starfarer now having the ability to refuel, what is the timeline we're looking at for the one question we're looking at for the interior remodeling in Gold Pass on this amazing space whale?
Not going to answer a when question, but I will say that we absolutely are going to redo the interior of that thing. It had some reasons I can't go into why we couldn't do it, but we now can do it, being given the green light to do that. So I think some aspects of it will stay as it is, like the cockpit and the section behind that in the neck and the chin area, that will stay the same. The cargo area will stay the same, but outside of that, it's probably going to get a whole refresh because it's just not that good to negotiate around.
It was
It's
literally
not.
one of our earliest.
It's terrible.
With an interior, we were.
It's
still figuring
miserable.
this stuff out.
Yeah.
Hey, Rev, how you doing?
There's. And what
Good to see ya. Hey, Kos. Things are going all right over here. Thanks for asking.
Good to fill a book all by itself. What is the current direction you're looking to go for in both the Ares models? Or, I'm not sure I understand the question.
It's presumably to do with the weapons. I would imagine this is a why did you break my ion question in disguise.
I would have understood that question. Okay. Why did you break my ion?
On the spot, Rich. Why did you do it personally?
Yeah. Well, the reason why I did it, well, it's just a case of balance. It was a case of where it fitted in the game with the kind of current kind of energy in the weapons we have. We basically had to fit it within what worked for the game now. And as I said earlier, the game now is different to what the game's going to be in the future. And we've been prototyping kind of different weapon solutions, especially for the iron, where we want to make that weapon feel much more impactful. Because, it's a big weapon. I want the reason why, it's got that purpose to it. And we can't quite deliver that with the current weapon system, and it requires some changes to the kind of core tech behind the weapons for it to work properly. So once we have that figured out, we'll definitely be revisiting that ship. And then on the ballistic side again, it depends where we go with the ballistics. But also as I said before, we kind of see that ship benefiting from the ability to kind of be.
I really do. I do hope that the cargo refactor. I would like to think that the cargo refactor will help cargo gameplay, but to be honest, that's kind of a systemic thing. They're gonna have to. The economy is gonna have to work first. Commodities are gonna have to be tracked, and things are gonna actually have to matter, and they're not gonna get that done by 3.18. So. Our only hope is that they just systemically raise the prices of everything and try to make trading lanes more valuable. I don't know what they're going to do, though. I'm hesitant to say that it would really have any big fixes other than letting us maneuver our cargo. You would think that maybe they would boost the gameplay to get people to test it more, but I don't really see that happening since they haven't talked about it. I hope so, but I'm not expecting it. But that actually about does it today, folks. I am getting a headache. I'm pretty sure I'm dehydrated, and these lights are killing my eyes. So I'm actually going to go ahead and call it today, but I hope you got some good information out of this. We got a lot of questions answered. We got to do a lot of sniping of different videos and sources and finding some good info. So like all the Monday streams, this was an info stream. Got hopefully the best info you can find from Star Citizen Live. Not live, like live streams. And I'll be back at it again next Monday with something else. But we will also be probably doing something on Wednesday. I think I had something planned. I can't remember. But we will... I'm out of water. But we will be back at it again on Wednesday, talking about the game, getting into the details, looking at the features, and, same old, same old. I hope you guys enjoyed this, though, and thank you, everybody who dipped in for some support. Thank you for the memberships. Thank you for the subscriptions access. I see you you subscribe today. Thank you as well, Drazen, Wobbly Llama, Anthropophagic. Thank you guys so much for the subs. This is our whole family's only work, so this is our family income, and any dollar helps. So I appreciate that support, and appreciate everybody just for being here and watching as well. That is enough support on its own, so thank you for that. I'm gonna go ahead and send you all on to Give me a cool minute. Let me just find my next target. Ooh, moist noodles on. But we're gonna go for somebody with a little bit less going on today. Anybody that we know. All right, I'm gonna drop you with Moist Noodle, the homie. I just had a talk with him last week. We had a good one. So I'll send you all that way. Looks like he's doing some, I can't tell, racing, mining, something. And I hope you all enjoyed. Much love, Garden family. Can I send someone else via YouTube as well? I can. Let's see if there's anybody on that I have on my list. Any rating targets on YouTube who are live right now? No, not for another hour. Ah, that's a bummer. Almost. You can do it on YouTube, but I don't have anybody who's on there right now. But anyways, folks, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the support. I hope you learned something today. I hope you had a good time. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Have a lovely day. Peace out.